neglect.
40 right here.
Ogden authorities removed 157 dogs and 11 cats from the home. Miguel Salgado Vargas was slapped with 637 charges, mostly Class B misdemeanors. This week, Salgado Vargas pleaded guilty to 8 of those charges, many of which were downgraded to infractions, and he entered pleas in abeyance on 30 more. That means those charges could be dismissed if he follows the court's directions when it comes to fines or mental health treatment or classes. His nephew, Ramon Aispuro Cano, who lived there as well, was also facing 336 charges. He'll be back in court in May. Heather Peterson, KSL News Radio.
Coming up, some showers. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 12:04.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Does your home have peeling paint or faded colors? Don't procrastinate. You need to protect your home with quality paint and a worry-free process, so make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. You quickly get a free estimate that's detailed, easy to understand, and then their trusted local professionals will bring fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
The sources of where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. That crash on US 6 at Center Street in Spanish Fork has cleared up, but the left lane is still blocked. Don't miss the Epson Tour at Copper Rock May 14th through 16th. Preview LPGA Next Gen Rising Stars on a breathtaking, challenging course. For stay, tickets, and info, visit copperrockchampionship.com. Highs this weekend are in the 60s and 70s. We'll have mostly cloudy skies with some showers today. Right now, it's raining and 63 degrees. I'm Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon, Cougar Nation. Welcome on into Cougar Sports Saturday on this kind of rainy, cloudy, overcast skies. First show in April here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper, Nate Slack with you live here in Salt Lake City, Utah at Broadcast House here on the legacy home of the Cougars. So much to get to over the next 3 hours. BYU basketball. They do have a commitment in the portal. We'll hit on that. Football, spring ball is in the rearview mirror. We got some interviews and some takeaways from spring practice. It's going to be a busy show, Nate. How you doing, man? Had a week off last week, and congrats on the new house.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of funny. We haven't had a show together inside the studio in almost a month. It was before the Big 12 tournament. So there's been a lot that's happened. The Big 12 tournament, getting bounced in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Spring football is over. I bought a house, general conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So tons to get to. It'll be a fun show.
It will be a fun show, and we can't waste any time because the transfer portal, it moves fast, as we have witnessed this week. There have been a range of emotions for Cougar Nation when it comes to this BYU basketball team. But let's address the good news, and that was a big welcome news today as former Farmington High star and Kentucky Wildcat Colin Chandler announced today on his personal Instagram page, Cougar Nation, let's rock. I'm coming home. Colin Chandler is finally going to be a BYU Cougar. Your instant reaction to Chandler announcing today that he's coming to BYU.
I was super excited, Mitch, and I was telling my wife this yesterday. I think he's a great replacement for a guy like Richie Saunders. I think there's going to be obviously a drop-off because Richie brought that senior leadership and he had all the experience, but Colin Chandler is a really, really good player, and he had some really good moments at Kentucky where he was winning games against Tennessee and Georgia because of his hot shooting. He won the team dunk contest before the season started. He's a great athlete. I think he's going to be a good fit for this BYU basketball team. One thing I was thinking, though, was why can't this stuff happen out of high school? Stay committed to BYU. He goes on his mission. He flips to Kentucky to follow Coach Pope, which makes sense because he had that relationship built. But we see this all the time in football, too, where players who have connections to BYU, they choose another school for whatever reason. They end up transferring back later in their career. And then a guy like Carson Ryan, he wasn't necessarily a BYU commit or anything at one point, but at the end of his career, he starts to say, I wish I had been at BYU longer than I was. And so this could be an opportunity, too, where Colin Chandler comes in. He has a great junior and maybe senior season. And then he goes, I should have probably been at BYU my entire career. But I'm really excited to have him at BYU. I think he's a fantastic fit. And it gives me hope that the BYU basketball team can go a bit more to what they were like in year one under Kevin Young as opposed to year two, because I think the coaching staff probably learned quite a bit from year two that it didn't work. They wanted to maybe run things a little more like the NBA when it came to just making sure you had the best talent in the room. There was a lot of like isolation on offense. It wasn't as beautiful to watch to the casual fan, but long story short, Mitch, I'm very excited. I think it's a great start to the transfer window for BYU basketball.
It's a huge get for the Cougars. One, just to get someone on the board and get a little bit of excitement and positivity building around this Cougar fan base. And to your point about the original process, Colin Chandler, 4.5 years ago, committed to BYU in November of 2021. I was there in that Farmington High gym when he committed to BYU, and it's fascinating to see him now. Fast forward to today, he posts a image on Instagram that says, I'm coming home. When he was growing up, he was a University of Utah fan. His family, Utah fans, even his wife was a Utah cheerleader. So a lot of connections to the University of Utah, but obviously strong connections here to the state and also a member of the church. He served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Sierra Leone, then went to London, England, served a 2-year mission. And, at the time when he committed to BYU and then he flipped to Kentucky, he was on the mission, you understood that move because BYU looked like they were maybe going to have a completely, maybe rock bottom moment. I don't think anyone could have envisioned at that time when he flipped his commitment to Kentucky that BYU was going to be a national player for prominent prospects and a place that develops for the NBA. I remember when I interviewed Colin Chandler when he committed to BYU, and he said that his goal, like any basketball player, is to get to the NBA. And so at that moment, I think he leaned more heavily into Kentucky and the strong connection that he had and relationship that he had and probably still does have with Coach Mark Pope. But now in this situation where maybe he wants to get closer to home, but also from the standpoint of developing for the NBA, I think that there is a clear proof of concept. You bring up Richie Saunders. Richie Saunders, his first 2 years with Mark Pope, kind of a role guy. Colin Chandler, first 2 years with Mark Pope at Kentucky, good player, but kind of a role guy. Started 31 games for the Wildcats this past season, but primarily viewed as just a three-point specialist. Knocked down 45% from three in SEC games this past season. Can he become more? Richie Saunders turned into one of the best players in the Big 12 and arguably college basketball over the past 2 years. That, I think, is a big piece to all of this, beyond simply just being at home. And look, I think there's something to that. People feel better and maybe get the most out of their potential and abilities being close to home and having that family circle nearby, but also the ability to be the next Richie Saunders and level up and become a bona fide NBA draft pick. I think this is a huge addition for BYU.
Kevin Young was super vocal after the loss to Texas in the NCAA tournament that he wanted to make sure that BYU had more shooters.
Yeah.
And so that's what Colin Chandler is. He's a great shooter. He shot 41% from three this past season. He made 73 of 178 attempts. And that was something that BYU was lacking for a lot of the season. Rob Wright was really good for a good chunk. Richie Saunders was kind of up and down this year. I think the role that he was in this year where he wasn't the lead guy like he was his junior season, I think that kind of hurt him a little bit. But I think this is going to fill a void that the team really could have benefited from having this year. I mean, looking at Dawson Baker was a shot maker that I think really would have helped BYU make a bigger splash in March than they ended up doing. But Colin Chandler, he's a great fit. It's not a deal where you're pulling somebody in who has no familiarity with the church or the school or how things operate. He's going to know some of these players as well that he played with in high school. I just think it's a great fit, and it's something that BYU, I'm hoping during this transfer portal window, they just kind of get back to the things they've done in the past where they're bringing in a lot of local talent, guys who care about BYU, because I think it makes a difference. When you're pulling in so many different transfers like they did last year, guys who were just not familiar with BYU and they're not from the state and I think it's just hard for them to fully grasp like what this means for BYU fans, and it's difficult to reach the highest levels like they have before.
Well, and I think too with Colin Chandler, he's got the ability to potentially be a number one guy. I think that's going to be the challenge in front of Chandler. Can he emerge as the face of a program? Can he be the heart and soul in a locker room? Can he be all of that? Because you don't make this move unless, and BYU is probably going to have a big investment into him. There's numbers that get floated out there about he's getting offered this. I always take that with a grain of salt because a lot of this is coming through agents, and a lot of the numbers that are getting floated out there, unless you hear point blank from Chandler or Kevin Young or the people that are in that negotiation or the contract itself or whatever it looks like, who knows exactly the specific number. But as we know in college basketball today, getting high-level prospects like a guy like Colin Chandler who can knock down the three at a high clip, it's going to come at a premium. But I think the task in front of him is to become a number one guy, to be a key player, because then that creates a space where Bruce Branch III, who's only 17, going to be 18 years old this November, he can be a number two. And you think about that guy's ability to catch and shoot as well, man, that is a nice tandem that you're suddenly piecing together on this roster. And then you got to, get some bigs, and that's going to be critical for this BYU team. And we'll get to the departures as well coming up on the other side. But getting Colin Chandler on board is huge. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. And I remember when he was coming out of Farmington High School, he was a point guard. He was a guy that could do a lot on the floor. He's a combo guard. I think he's got so much more to his game than what was maybe shown the first 2 years at Kentucky. And that's the challenge in front of Kevin Young, to unleash that. And based on what he did with Richie Saunders, I'm very optimistic, Nate, that this is going to be a good fit for Chandler and hopefully for BYU in leading to potentially, winning some ball games in the postseason. But rest assured, BYU, even when they have losses and attrition to the roster, Kevin Young is not just going to punt on a season and say, well, this is a rebuild year. You can't do that in college basketball anymore, where you can't just say, we're going to get some young guys and just build up for the future. Everything is a one-year deal now, and the challenge in front of BYU is to get into a top 16 seed territory for the NCAA tournament, and maybe Colin Chandler could be that number one guy that leads the way for BYU. Let's take a break. Let's get to the guys that are leaving the BYU basketball program, or at least are in the portal. There's quite a few of them and some notable ones as well. We'll hit on that next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Teaching the Constitution isn't as simple as it used to be.
We're much more cautious.
Some Utah teachers say even civics lessons can be misunderstood.
I'm more cognizant of what I say.
Not fear, but anxiety.
Yet they believe this moment matters more than ever.
If we don't give them the space to learn civil discourse, where are they going to learn it?
Peter Rosen shares why educators say the future of our democracy starts in the classroom. Utah celebrates America 250, Monday at 10 on KSL.
Imagine all that could happen in 5 years. Jobs change, kids grow up, new memes come and go. But what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need the most, that finds and fixes any issues before you even notice. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth. For the next 5 years, all your devices will be working in perfect harmony with the equipment, with no annual contracts, no fees, and no strings. So even though your kid will grow up and you still won't understand 6, 7, the price for your sharp, reliable internet will stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
Something about me. I don't like to settle. I work hard to be my best self, and I want a vehicle that matches. So I'm shopping for a Cadillac because their innovation and craftsmanship are top of the line. With a whole line of electric SUVs packed with state-of-the-art technology, I know I'll be driving away in redefined luxury. Help all of us at Jerry Seiner Cadillac celebrate our new location with an incredible buying experience for your dream car. Come in today to experience the Seiner difference.
How was your break?
It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code THRIVE25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code THRIVE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill-up. That's THRIVE25.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. So, Monty, I wonder if you know someone like this. He's the ultimate DIY guy. Restores classic cars, builds his own deck, and even smokes his own brisket.
Sounds like a talented guy.
He is. But get this, his other weekend hobby is troubleshooting his water softener. He's always down there resetting the timer or fiddling with the circuit board.
See, Doug, that's where I draw the line. Smoking a brisket is a great weekend project.
Yeah.
Fixing an electric water softener is just a chore.
Exactly. He thinks he's saved money by buying the bargain brand, but he's paying for it with his Saturdays.
That's the Connecticut difference. Our systems are premium because they are non-electric and fully automated. No computers to fry, no timers to reset. We install it and you get back to the hobbies you actually enjoy.
If you want soft water, do what I did and leave that to Connecticut. It runs on water power, not willpower. Learn more at soft softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you on this Saturday, April 11th. KSL News Time, 12:24 p.m. Cougs got a commitment from Colin Chandler out of the transfer portal, former Farmington High star, former Gatorade Player of the Year in Utah. Spent the past 2 seasons with the Kentucky Wildcats. Now he's going to be a BYU Cougar, but not all of the transfer portal activity have been wins for BYU. They have lost some players, quite a few, in fact. The most notable, Rob Wright III. He declared that he's going into the portal. Well, he hasn't publicly spoke about it. It's just that he's in the portal right now. Your thoughts on Wright going into the portal, Nate?
I was shocked, Mitch, because I think a lot of people were just because of his comments after the NCAA tournament where he even brings up, he wasn't asked if he was going to be transferring or not. He brings up, if I'm playing college basketball next year, I'm going to be in a BYU jersey. And so for him to enter the portal, even as early as he did, like he didn't have to enter right away, and he ultimately did. Mm-hmm. So I think it sounds like there's starting to have some reports where there's still a chance he comes back. But I think it's just a good reminder that everything is just kind of transactional. It's a business now. This isn't college basketball of even 10 years ago where Matt Carlino transfers out of the program and you're thinking, what's going on? Where's BYU going to go next? How are they going to recover? So now it's just kind of we have to, do things under the assumption that Rob's not going to be in the program. But in a way I understand it because at the end of the day, it's an opportunity for him to get more money. He was going to be at Baylor a couple of years ago, going into this past season, he was going to be the face of the Baylor basketball team, and he left kind of last minute to go to BYU. So this isn't the first time he's done this, so maybe that's a red flag. But ultimately, I think it's a thing where BYU just has to move on and look for the next guy.
You think they should just move on? I would take him back. I would work
Would you?
Absolutely, because I think Rob Wright, because we know that this is a business, and Kevin Young understands the business side better than most because he's been part of the NBA. And I don't think the old college model has any emotion to him. So if a guy wants to, I view this in a way of NBA superstar saying, I want to get traded, kind of in a way. Granted, that's still different, obviously, because the team has full control and they call the shots. But in many respects, so the players, even in the NBA, call the shots with those terms too. I just think I'd like to see BYU work a way to get this thing back on track because, again, I think Rob Wright has really enjoyed his time at BYU. And you look around the portal, there's not any guards and point guards to me that compare to Rob Wright because then you look at a lineup too. And, look, you can have Colin Chandler be the point now. He's committed. He could be your point guard. But I like the idea of a lineup of Rob Wright, Colin Chandler, Bruce Branch. That sounds pretty good, Nate. I think that could be really good for this BYU team. But again, I think that Rob could get more than what BYU is putting out there for him. And they're looking at the market. And look, the agent doesn't need to throw the player into the portal to know the market. That can be known through back channeling. But if anything, I'm actually, if he is going to go to the portal, I like that he did it this way. and just entered right at the beginning of the portal rather than like at the final hour.
Like
because now you've got time to still navigate this thing. Because, again, there's a very good chance he does move on to the portal, but we're seeing some, point guards that are high profile in the portal going off the board and going to other programs. Isaiah Johnson, who was a Colorado Buffalo, torched BYU on that Valentine's Day game. He ends up at Texas. I think Ohio State got a point guard. I'd have to double check on that. But there's been some key point guards going off the board. And does the potential money shrink and maybe you boomerang back to BYU? I just think I think Rob's a good dude. I think he gets labeled a way that isn't right because of these moves. I think he's a good dude. Is he the guy that's going to lead the program like AJ and Richie Saunders did? I don't think he's that. But I think he's a guy that's a really good basketball player, and I think that he really enjoys his time at BYU. So I'd be more than happy for BYU to circle this thing back and try to get this thing back on track and try to get him back. But again, it's the portal and agents and different agendas, what these people want.
I think the reason that I'm okay with him leaving if he doesn't end up coming back is because I just remember all the times where he was fantastic getting to the rim, but there were so many times where he wasn't able to finish, whether it was a missed layup or he was blocked. I think about how he played in comparison to Dallin Hall or Yegor Dioman, where they were involving Keita so much. The pick and roll was kind of a non-thing this past year. And I think he wasn't always looking to share with his teammates the way that Dallin and Yegor were. Now, I think there's other players in the portal that BYU could pull in to kind of replicate what those guys did a couple of years ago. And maybe that's not the best way to do things, is try to recreate that team from 2 years ago. But I keep going back to that team had a lot of success. They seemed to gel really well. They won a lot of games in February and March, where this year, even before Richie went down injured, they were losing games, Mitch. They were losing games at Oklahoma State. They were getting blown out by UCF. So I just think this is an opportunity where if Rob does leave, you kind of look to the team 2 years ago to rebuild it and get back on the right track.
Before we go to a break real quick, I just think that Rob could be a pass-first guard. I just think that it kind of evaporated the pieces around him and AJ.
And that's fair.
But still, it's fair criticisms, and there's more to talk about with the portal. We'll discuss it more next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
I remember brushing my hair and looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any hair left?
I used to look at women with thick, beautiful hair and think, why doesn't my hair look like that?
My thinning hair is making me feel so old.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier-looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume.
Since taking Hair Volume, the shedding has all but stopped.
Now, instead of being jealous of other women's hair, I have friends who are jealous of mine.
My hairdresser couldn't believe the difference in my hair. Now she's using Hair Volume too.
Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com, or find Hair Volume in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Every day, Utah turns to KSL News Radio for trust and for connection. Our listeners come back again and again because they know they can rely on KSL, and the business is heard right here. If you're a business owner, now is the perfect moment to reach this loyal audience with KSL News Radio's unmatched credibility, paired with digital solutions like display, social, streaming audio, search, and geo-targeted advertising. We'll build a full funnel strategy for any budget. Grow with a partner Utah trusts. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
Trying to make sense of the markets? Looking to diversify out of all the craziness? Thinking about tangible assets like precious metals? Listen to The Gold Show with Alan Johnson right here on KSL at 3 p.m. Sunday afternoons. Stay up to date on retirement trends, how the IRA rollover process works, and why investors are turning to physical gold. Alan is a national talk show host with decades of experience in the markets. Tune in for Alan's Insights and The Gold Show this Sunday afternoon at 3.
It's 12:32 at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top local story this hour. A 15-year-old girl is missing after running away. Lindsay Salgado ran away early yesterday morning driving a white 2009 BMW. Salgado is Hispanic, 5 foot tall, and has black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information, contact the Unified Police Department of Greater Salt Lake. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. An ABC News investigation is looking into teens and gambling.
Dr. Nasir Naqvi studies the impact of gambling on the brain. He has seen addiction in people as young as 13. Images show pleasure centers activated by drugs and gambling.
Same parts of the brain.
Same parts of the brain.
Drugs and alcohol, gambling.
Exactly. This illustrates how there's a lot of overlap between gambling disorder and substance use disorder.
That's ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky reporting. Coming up, much-needed rain. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 12:34.
Running a small business means juggling a lot. Your network has to handle it all. That's where a fiber-only provider falls short. You need a partner who gives you a greater advantage. Introducing the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A first-ever combination of the largest, fastest fiber-powered network, the most reliable Wi-Fi, gig speeds with equipment and security included, and a 5-year price lock. Plus, it's all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. A new standard for small business with reliability, security, and savings in one. Switch today. Get started with a great offer as low as $60 a month. When you add it all up, no one does business like Comcast Business.
Offer ends 6/1/26. New customers only. Requires 300 megabits per second internet and security edge. 1-year agreement, eco-bill, and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
Mornings are for recharging. And they're for starting your day right. We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU, love where you bank. We've got good speeds on the major highways. There is some slowdown southbound I-15 near downtown Salt Lake City, so just be careful on the roads, and especially with all the rain and wind. Looking to connect your kids with nature? Flower gardening is hands-on time together and memories. Olson's Greenhouse offers perfect plants for families to grow together. For porches, patios, beds, or containers, visit Olson's at ogg.com. There's a special weather statement from Fruit Heights down to West Jordan for 40-mile-per-hour winds and hail. The National Weather Service says to stay inside until about 1 o'clock. Right now, we've got some light rain, and it's 61 degrees. Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Cougar Sports Saturday rolls on here with Mitch Harper and Nate Slack. Talk BYU basketball and the transfer portal. The portal opened on Tuesday, April 7th. It goes until April 21st. So portal is not slowing down by any stretch. I believe there's over 1,800 guys in the portal already. It might be near 2,000 already. I'll have to double check. But it's a lot of players in college basketball looking for a landing spot. Some of these guys are hoping maybe for the 5 years and 5 deal that's been thrown out there potentially by the NCAA. Well, we could talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But the portal activity for BYU, they got a commitment. If you missed it earlier, Colin Chandler committed to BYU earlier today around the 10 o'clock hour. He has announced that he is transferring to BYU from Kentucky. Earlier this week, BYU players Rob Wright III, he entered the transfer portal. Also joining Rob Wright, Xavier Staten, 6'11", 7-foot center. He is off to Oregon State in the new look Pac-12. And then also in the portal, Dominique Diomande, starting wing Kennard Davis Jr., Tyler Murus, who spent the past season after transferring in from Idaho, and then KJ Perry. If you're hearing that name, you're thinking, who's that? Well, he was a mid-year enrollee, JUCO transfer, spent this past Big 12 season with the program. He's now portaling, was once rated the number 1 ranked JUCO recruit in the country by 24/7 Sports. Now he's number 2. It's been a busy portal season thus far, and the work is only continuing for BYU as they got to build out this roster. But were there players that, beyond Rob Wright, that you feel like BYU should try to keep, or was this kind of all expected, the rest of these guys?
I think it's expected. Maybe Dominique Diomande, just because I think his defensive effort in the Big 12 championship was awesome. And he's super athletic. We saw that in a couple windmill dunks he had. His offensive game has a ways to go, but I think this could have been an offseason where he works on that, because offensively, that's something you can develop. You can work on that over an offseason and come in the next season and be a lot more efficient. So I think he's probably the only guy I would have tried to keep. Xavier Staten, I think, is just a little too thin right now. Because watching the national championship on Monday, the UConn and Michigan bigs, they were just bullies, Mitch. Yeah. They were pushing guys around. It reminded me of the Texas game, too. Texas's big was just pushing guys around, and I don't feel like Xavier is at that level where he's going to be able to do his own, pushing. And so that looking ahead a little bit for the transfer portal, that's something where I know Kevin Young really wants to focus on shooters. I want BYU to focus on bigs, because I don't know if Bidou Ahmed is going to be good enough for BYU this next year where they can rely on him game in and game out. They need to get a big that's what the Big Ten has and what SEC schools have, where it's just a big 7-foot guy who's pushing 300 pounds who could just really put his shoulder down and get an easy basket. Looking at the team last year, Foose is only 6'6", but it was almost an automatic bucket. Anytime you dropped the ball down to him in the paint, he would just get you 2 points. And I think BYU needs a guy like that, where if they get in a rut where they're on the wrong end of a 10-0 run, get the ball down to the big guy, get 2 points, and just kind of get things flipped.
That is something where through the first 2 years, BYU has not had much offensive punch at the 5 spot in the Kevin Young era. And that will be an area where they have to potentially improve, depending on how they build out this roster. But it would be nice to see BYU get some more size. From that standpoint, that's where I think the departure of Staten is, I guess, unfortunate. It wasn't shocking by any stretch. Kind of expected that one. But I just like a guy that's 6'11", someone that's been around the program. But sometimes there's also situations where his landing spot kind of tells you a little bit too. It's not like he stayed in the high major ranks. The new Pac-12, yes, the old Pac-12 was a high major, but the new Pac-12 is kind of outside the power structure. It's a mid-major league in that standpoint. Oregon State will be there with Utah State, Wazoo, and it's going to be a great basketball league. Gonzaga is going to be there. I mean, excellent, highly resourced programs, but they can kind of tell you maybe a little bit of the market. I think he had a connection, too, to the new Oregon State head coach as well. I think he's going to have a good college career, and I'll be keeping an eye out for him. But I like your pull on Diomande, because I really did think that the fact that he was in that quote-unquote stay-ready group that Kevin Young talked about, where, hey, your contribution, it might not be known every single night. It might be based on need for a given game, but stay ready. And Diomande, he did stay ready until the bitter end. And he really did not play and get consistent minutes with this rotation until late February, early March. And I think that's impressive. And I was hoping that would kind of build up some momentum into this offseason. But the offensive game is very limited right now. But he is an incredible athlete. He's explosive. And that's where I kind of wish that BYU was able to keep him, maybe try to pull him back out of the portal and circle back. Because, again, that's what we got to remember. You can have guys come back into the portal. I just think that more times than not, it feels like those circumstances just don't tend to work. It worked with Richie Saunders, and we all understood why he went into the portal 2 years ago, because there was a coaching change. Same with Dallin Hall. But when the coaching staff is pretty much intact and a guy leaves, it's kind of hard to picture running it back in those terms. Think back to football when it happened with Cody Epps. That didn't work out at all. Like all the momentum that Epps had built in the 2022 season, that went out the window the following 2 years and really never matched the successes that he had before entering the portal in that 2023 cycle.
Yeah, it's a good point because I think it's just human nature when you have an opportunity to get kind of a fresh start and you distance yourself from what you've been doing for the last year or two and you start to kind of notice all the things that you didn't like. It's easy to just want to turn the page and start fresh. So I don't fault guys for going into the portal and then not returning. Richie Saunders, I think, was a good exception because it wasn't that he wanted to leave BYU and he was upset about something that happened at BYU. It was a coaching change, and he had to make sure that it was going to be a system that still worked for him. What are your thoughts on Kennard Davis? Is that somebody you wish that BYU would try to get to return? Or are you happy with, or not happy, but are you okay with him moving on?
I'm okay. It's unfortunate because I do think that his role could be bigger than what it was this year. I'm of the belief that playing off of superstars is challenging for guys. Like sometimes you see players in the NBA, they join maybe a super team back in the day, in that era of the super team, big three era in the NBA when that was a really big thing, where they were key guys on lesser known or less visible teams. But then they get to those super teams, and they're nowhere near the success and the impact, the shooting that they displayed when they were maybe a bigger role on those teams. Sometimes it's challenging to play off superstars because I think this team was just almost defaulted to AJ all the time and Richie all the time and then Rob Wright as well. They always defaulted to those three, but it was primarily AJ and Richie, and when adversity hit, they default to them, where these other guys like a Kennard Davis, like a Keba Keita, other players, they weren't relied on as much, and I just think you got to the season's end, and Kennard Davis is getting some quality games stacked up on top of each other, but it's too little too late. The season's over. And I kind of want to see him build it up and move forward. I loved his commentary at the end of the NCAA tournament where he said he was happy with his decision to come to BYU. I think you got to always take those comments at times with any player with a grain of salt at the end of a season. But I do sincerely believe that Kennard Davis enjoyed his time at BYU if that, in fact, ends up being the end, because I think that Davis easily could have departed at any time and no one would have faulted him because he got arrested in November. He faced allegations in November. So it could have been easy for him to leave, but he stuck with it. BYU stayed with him, and he played, and I thought that his role could have been bigger. He needed to be a guy, though, that can knock down threes, but to solely label him as a knockdown three-point shooter, I think there's more nuance to his game than that. I think it's probably just best with the addition now of Colin Chandler. I just think it's probably best, and with Bruce Branch coming in, I don't know what that role looks like for Kennard Davis next season, to be quite honest with you. But I think it would probably make sense for him to move on at this point. But I was okay with the idea of him, coming back and being part of this team because the guy started every game that he played, and there's value to building off of that. The best teams in college basketball this year still had retention. Arizona had Braden Burries come in as a freshman. They had Koa Pete come in as a freshman, but they were still able to retain Toby Owaka, Anthony Del Orso, the BYU killer. And they kept those guys. So it made for a deep team that had the nice blend of high-level freshmen, but also the vets, and they were bought into their role. BYU feels like it's going to be a completely new team because, and we'll talk about this maybe a little bit on the other side. Well, let's get to a break. We'll go over the players that are still on board, and then we'll also hit on some comments from a former BYU player weighing in on the portal as well. It's Cougar Sports Saturday. It's powered by KSL Sports.
Hey, did you hear about that multi-billion-dollar Roundup settlement?
Yeah, it impacts people who are exposed to weed killers at work or at home, even if you just used it in your own yard. Lawsuits claim it causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a blood cancer.
But we're not sick, so that doesn't affect us.
But it does. This cancer can take 10 to 15 years to show up.
That's a long time after exposure.
It is, and that's why the settlement is paying claims for up to 21 years. If you get sick, even years from now, you could get $6,000 to $165,000 or more as part of this settlement.
So what's the catch?
If you stay in, you give up the right to sue them later.
Learn more at weedkillerclass.com or call 1-888-403-8201. If you or a loved one has or had non-Hodgkin lymphoma, even if they've passed, you must register for benefits. That's weedkillerclass.com. 1-888-403-8201. Paid for by the Roundup Settlement.
At Cadillac, we believe true luxury isn't just about craftsmanship. It's about innovation. That's why we created a luxury line of electric SUVs, including the best-selling Lyriq, the all-new Optic, and the Escalade IQ, the first fully electric full-sized SUV. You can travel over 400 miles on a single charge. So come get your dream car and see exactly why driving a Cadillac is like no other driving experience. Visit Jerry Seiner Cadillac and experience the Seiner difference today.
It's spring. You get outside and it's obvious your house needs painting. Make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. They'll give you a free estimate quickly and at the right price. And they make the entire process easy with reliable updates and communication. They know how important your home is to you. True professionals, they're committed to quality and exceptional service at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
Here's the secret no one's telling you about those trendy weight loss shots. You may have to take them for life, and many people gain the weight back after stopping. With the Salt Lake City Fat Loss Program, there's a better way. The proprietary natural-based program they utilize has helped thousands of people lose weight and keep it off long-term. Imagine losing up to 10 to 20% of your body weight in just 8 weeks without muscle loss, side effects, or yo-yo rebounds. Ready to transform your body for life? Schedule your free personalized consultation today at slcfatloss.com.
I'm Maria Shaleo. Salt Lake City Fat Loss has worked for me because it's just a simple combination of foods that burn fat, not muscle. Plus, I lost the weight without spending a ton of money on medications. I've not only lost more than 40 pounds, I've been given the resources to keep the weight off for good.
Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. Schedule your free consultation today by going to slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. Results may vary.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and they watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror. I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness.
Because,
Something.
He attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
Amanda, I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at andcollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's AndCollar, ANDCollar.com.
Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism.
Cougar Sports Saturday rolls on. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you. If you want to interact with the show, you can send us a post on X, Mitch_Harper, Nate Slack 5. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast if you miss any part of the show. Just search Cougar Sports Saturday on any major audio podcasting platform. And
shoot us a text.
Shoot us a text. Thank you. 57500. You can also interact with us that way as well. So a former BYU basketball player, Elijah Bryant, we're going to get to some comments that he shared a little bit later at the top of the hour. I wanted to go over, though, Nate, the basketball roster as of today. Players that are still committed for next season as of now, players that are not in the portal, players that may be mulling over decisions but haven't entered the portal or haven't declared for the NBA. So here's the roster right now. I will include A.J. DiBonsa because he hasn't formally made a decision. I will include him. Just side note real quick, this wasn't planned. When people say ROI on A.J., wasn't the ROI almost kind of fulfilled with that picture with Elder Razband?
Oh, absolutely.
That was pretty cool. With Richie, with Kevin Young, with Brian Santiago. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
At the open house Linden Temple, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only player to have that experience either because Yegor Dioman also has some pictures with Elder Razband. So, yeah, the church does not dislike BYU athletics as much as people may want to tell you so.
Yes, so I think that was pretty neat to see that from AJ. He even had a YouTube video, too, where he's playing at a trampoline park basketball. I thought that was pretty fun. But he's praying, and again, like BYU is a place that wants to build people's faith, whatever that faith is. So I just thought that picture was really cool. But I'm still going to include AJ, even though I'm making peace with that he will be a face of the NBA, and rightfully so. The guy is awesome. The rest of the roster, let's get more realistic here. Nate Pickens, Abdullah Ahmed, Brody Kozlowski, Hadim Boop, Alexei Kostic, Brooks Barr, he's a return missionary from Keller, Texas, Dean Rickert, Bruce Branch III, and Colin Chandler. How do you feel about that grouping of players?
It's a pretty solid group, Mitch. I like that Kozlowski's staying because I think he's a guy who's been injured the last couple of years, but he was a really good high school player, and I feel like he would fit really well in this system. I like the fact that Kostic is still around. I'm hoping he doesn't dip to the portal, but you never really know.
And that's a good point because, again, these players, all of them, have until April 21st. And I think one of the things that's interesting about the portal is that maybe you go in with the mindset, if you're a player, like, I'm not leaving. I'm staying. But then maybe the coaching staff, and not saying specifically for BYU, but other programs, or in the case of BYU, maybe you get a few guys at your position, and then if you're that player, like, do I need to reevaluate my options and go into the portal? So it's a very fluid situation, and that's why Kevin Young even said at the end of the NCAA tournament, it's a buckle-up type of deal, because when you think you know what the roster is going to be at one moment, it can change, and there's constant communication and going through agents and going through representation. It is a very fluid deal. But I like some of the pieces there if these guys stay on board. I love Bruce Branch, and I think that Bruce Branch is kind of a slept-on freshman. He's going to play tonight in the Nike Hoop Summit with Team USA. That's going to take place at 8 p.m. on Peacock. Can't wait to watch that. His freshman class or high school class isn't as loaded as the one with AJ last year. I mean, that one was stacked, and we all saw it firsthand in college basketball. But Branch is going to be good. Hadim Boop's interesting to me. Is there a scenario, Nate, where you think he could be a starting big for BYU? Could Hadim Boop be that for the Cougars? I think he's a fan favorite. His energy is off the charts, but could he be a starter?
I don't think you want him to be a starter as a big guy. Yeah. I think if he could be like a stretch four where, yeah, he can play down on the post a little bit, but he took a few three-pointers this season. I think that's more what you want out of him, where he can stretch the floor, he can get up some three-point shots. I don't want him to be BYU's starting five.
Yeah. I think Boop's interesting, though, because I just think that I'm with you. My first feeling is he's probably not a starter, but at the same time, you know, Boop, I think he loves being at BYU. but I'm sure he wants to eventually be a key cog at some point, and maybe that development can continue to happen. He's only, next season going to be a redshirt sophomore. He's heading into his third season with the program if he stays on board. I just think back to he got the start against Cincinnati. That was struggle. And look, that was a whirlwind, and that was a tough matchup. Cincinnati at the time on the road, they were rolling. BYU was kind of lost itself in the third iteration of the team, as Kevin Young put it. But Boop's interesting. Kozlowski's also interesting, too. He's a total incomplete. Guy's played, 8 games in 2 years, didn't play a lick this past season due to injury. But I remember him at Corner Canyon. The dude can hit shots, and there was buzz about him in the summertime that he can be a shot maker and knock down threes and be a nice big. He's interesting to me as well. Hopefully that, he's fully on board and stays part of this program, because I'd like to see Kozlowski have some success.
Well, going back to what you said, one thing that concerns me about this group, though, Mitch, is the best teams in college basketball and the best teams in BYU basketball history have all been upperclassmen. It's been senior-laden teams. This team doesn't really have that. They have Nate Pickens, who's going to be a senior, and Colin Chandler, who's going to be a junior. The rest of them pretty much freshmen and sophomores. And I don't know if that's a recipe for success where BYU's aiming to, make runs in March. And I think it's good if you know that these guys are going to be around for a few years. But we're at the point now in college basketball where every team is going to be a year-to-year kind of deal. And so you can't bank on these guys playing well as freshmen or even going through the learning how to play college basketball as freshmen in hopes that they improve for his sophomore season. That may never happen.
I like the idea, too. A wild card in all of this is Dawson Baker. If he could get a medical year, it seems far-fetched because he graduated high school in 2018. That was 8 years ago, Nate. But I would love to see Baker get one more crack, because that guy, you talk about senior, could be a nice guy in the locker room, but he's also a guy that Kevin Young trusts. So he would be interesting as well. Let's talk more Cougar Hoops next.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. Face-to-face talks between the U.S., Iran, and Pakistan in Pakistan continue. 2 American naval destroyers have gone through the Strait of Hormuz. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the ships are clearing mines laid by Iran. Senior fellow and senior director of the Iran program at the Foundation for Defensive Democracies, Behnam Ben Talabou.
The odds of real peace, particularly with two governments that have such enmity and mistrust, and in particular the Islamic Republic of Iran having such enmity and mistrust with America over the past 47 years, means that is slim to none. But a codification of a ceasefire, perhaps deconfliction and de-escalation frameworks and a memorandum of understanding, that certainly is possible.
Iran demanding a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militants. In Beirut, ABC's Marcus Moore.
The Israelis have said that they have targeted Hezbollah, but what we've heard from residents and as well as the emergency services here in Lebanon is that residential areas have been hit. And all of this is now playing a very critical role in the effort to secure a peace agreement in the war in Iran.
In his strongest words yet on the Iran war, Pope Leo today, without naming the U.S. or its leaders, denounced what he called the delusion of omnipotence. And Leo saying enough of the idolatry of self and money. More fellow Democrats calling for California Congressman Eric Swalwell to end his campaign for governor. Swalwell denying accusations of sexual assault, as reported in the San Francisco Chronicle.
For over 20 years, I have served the public as a city councilman, as a member of Congress, and as a prosecutor who went to court on behalf of victims, particularly on behalf of sexual assault victims. That's who I am and have always been.
You're listening to ABC News.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, our credit card bill came and it's higher than last month.
How? We haven't charged anything.
Paying the minimum isn't enough. It will keep getting higher until we take control. We need to go to 47fastcash.com.
With our bad credit?
47fastcash.com can help any credit type get approved for up to $5,000 in minutes.
Take control and get the money you need at 47fastcash.com. 47fastcash.com.
I've been telling you all about the secret war on our cash and the free report you can receive a copy of by contacting Swiss America at 800-289-2646. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to their podcast on YouTube. Just search Swiss America Trading. The podcast can provide you a ton of vital information and financial news in the challenging and uncertain times we're in. Subscribe today. Learn more about BRICS, industry leaders, and their market predictions for the future, along with what you might expect to see in terms of precious metal performance in the weeks and months ahead. Message and data rates may apply.
Good afternoon. It's 1:03 at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top local story this hour. A man has been sentenced to prison in a triple killing case. Stephen Carmona is sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the aggravated murder of 3 rival gang members at a house party just outside of West Jordan. Police say in July of 2022, Carmona was in a white Cadillac when he shot the victims in front of the house. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. With negotiations set to take place in Pakistan this weekend between the U.S. and Iran, many here at home say they hope this could help reduce inflated prices.
It's clear that Americans are feeling the pinch. Inflation now exceeds 3%. That is the first time that has happened in 2 years. Consumer prices are surging at their fastest monthly pace since 2022, up 0.9% in March. The gas index increased by more than 21%. That is the single biggest monthly spike at the pump since 1967, the earliest these records go.
ABC's Alex Prochet reporting. Coming up, grab an umbrella. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:04.
It was opening night at Hale Center Theater for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Victor Hugo's classic tale. I was with my son, Ian, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The staging, the costuming, the music, it's simply breathtaking. And, of course, the actors and the voices. You have to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's on the main stage right now at Hale Center Theater. So many of the scenes are never to be forgotten. For example, when Frollo is just struggling with his passion for Esmeralda and his soul, the flames and the tension on the stage is unbelievable. And to see the Hunchback up in the tower with the bells, don't miss Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And continuing, Peter Pan Goes Wrong. That's on the Jewel Box stage and Hallmarked on the Beehive stage. Get your tickets now. hct.org. Don't miss the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. No issues to report, just be careful on the roads with rain and high winds. Taste what happens when corners aren't cut. Food that tastes as good as service feels. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, the perfect place for all occasions. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, downtown Salt Lake City and Hotel Park City. There's a storm warning throughout the Wasatch Front and all the way up to Logan. Winds might get up to 70 miles per hour and there may be hail this afternoon. Right now, there's thunder in the vicinity and it's 61 degrees. I'm Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Richie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 2 is off and running here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you. Text us 57500. Share your thoughts on the transfer portal. How is it as a fan, Cougar Nation? How do you feel about the portal? What are your feelings about it? Are you I don't say enjoying this transactional era of college basketball, but how does it affect your fandom? Text us 57500. A former BYU Cougar, Elijah Bryant, who I always view as kind of the OG of YouTube vlogger influencers.
Yeah.
I remember when he had his YouTube vlog, and that was a thing where he couldn't put the monetization on because back then he would have been violating the NCAA. Now that's just so funny to think about now with all the money that's getting thrown around in this sport nowadays. But Elijah Bryant goes to X, and he said the following. BYU fans are upset that Rob Wright hit the portal. He's a 6'1" scoring point guard. Look at NBA history. That archetype isn't cashing out at the next level. So, yes, he should squeeze every dollar he can out of college basketball. You do the exact same thing at your job if your value doubled overnight. Remember when guys used to transfer because they weren't getting minutes? We're not talking about minutes anymore. We're talking about real deal money. NIL and the portal killed loyalty. It's whoever pays me the most every single time until they put real parameters on it. Don't hate the player, hate the system. Meanwhile, I'm fired up about Colin Chandler coming to Provo. Trust Coach Young. Go Cougs. Nate, your thoughts on his commentary?
I love the comparison of because I think people have been really upset that Rob Wright is in the transfer portal because of what he said after the game, but they're at the same time thrilled that Colin Chandler is leaving Kentucky to come to BYU.
Yep.
And it's a good thing to remember that BYU's been a real good beneficiary of the transfer portal since its inception, really. They haven't lost a ton of big-name players to other schools. I think the biggest ones are probably John Henry Daly and Logan Fano to Utah.
And now probably Rob Wright if he does move on.
Probably Rob Wright. They also lost, like, Keelan Marion and Harrison Taggart, some other players, but by and large, BYU has really benefited from the transfer portal. So, but yes, the system needs it's going to change the game forever. I don't think basketball programs are going to be the same unless they put some hard caps on it. I envision 50 to 80% of rosters turning over year after year, whether it's from graduation or just guys quitting or just due to injuries or something. But transfer portal, I think, is going to become a big thing in basketball in particular. I don't see it being an issue in football just because basketball, if you have one guy leave, it can impact your entire team, where in football they have so many guys on the team, and if you lose a receiver, yeah, it's a bummer you lost him, but it's not going to impact your team the way that Rob Wright leaving BYU could.
Well, and to your point too, last year, BYU lost its starting quarterback and had one of the best seasons in program history. They lost Jake Retzloff officially in July. Granted, it was probably more like May, but you get the point. I mean, they lost their starting QB, and they didn't skip a beat. They won 12 football games. So I'm with you. Football, it's, to me, not the same, even though there are guys that are going to depart. But I think the rev share aspect of football has created a situation where nearly everyone's getting a little bit of a cut and getting some nice money to play college football. Basketball, and you make a great point on one individual can change it all. Imagine if BYU didn't have AJ this past year. I mean, I still think Richie could have been the number one and still carried BYU as far as he could. But AJ, I mean, he put them from I thought BYU had higher expectations than what they ended up, but still, if without him, and if Richie still goes down and all those injuries still happen, you're probably talking near the cellar of the Big 12 without AJ and how that offense was operating. So one guy is significant in basketball, and it can change everything. So schools are willing to pay a premium to get some of these players. And I just think also the basketball culture, we see this a lot, even in high school. You know, A.J. DeBonsa had 3 different high schools in 3 years. Rob Wright played at different high schools. Like high-level basketball players, 5-star prospects, even some top-end, top 100 recruits that are 4-star guys, they bounce around. You know, there's a guy in the portal right now from the University of Georgia. I bring him up because he was a local guy, Pleasant Grove High School. Jordan Ross, he was a guard. Pleasant Grove, but you don't associate him with Pleasant Grove because he bounced around prep academies, then he went to Georgia. But that's just kind of basketball. Guys move around. And I think what's difficult too, Nate, is that Cougar fans are always going to be here. They're always going to be there. And even the donors, the boosters, they are always going to their core, love BYU sports. But for coaches and players, it's a business. And even in football, like Kalani Sitake almost left for Penn State. It's a business. Jay Hill, despite what he called a great experience at BYU working for Kalani Sitake, he left for Michigan. It's a business for everyone that's involved in this. And I think it's tough because the fanatic nature of sports, I think, has grown in some respect because there's so much more content. There's so much more connection in terms of ways to observe and follow all the news with these teams. So fans are more engaged than ever before. But for these individuals in all these sports, it's a business. And for everyone else, it's their passion, it's their fandom, and it's maybe a thing that they like to throw money at because they really care a lot to their core. These people, it's a business.
We got texts, Mitch, and these texts just display why this conversation is so great because they're total opposites. One text is from texter 0249. They say, the portal is great. That's how BYU gets even better players than they have. And then you get a text from 2382. They say, I hate the portal. I love a Richie Saunders who plays 4 years and the fans can enjoy the loyalty and growth of a player.
Yeah.
And I think that's true because at some points, BYU's really benefited from the portal, but also there's nothing like having a guy go through the entire system. Watching Foose go all 4 years at BYU, watching Richie play all 4 years at BYU. Dallin Hall had a chance to do that, and he left for his senior season, and he made a deep run in the tournament at Virginia, and it worked out great for him. But I think people just need to understand that it's a great point from Elijah Bryant. If you were offered to do the same job at a competing company and you were going to double your money overnight,
because that's business.
Probably take it.
That's business. And I mean, I'd be foolish not to listen and entertain it. It's difficult. I do like the point that it's made BYU better with the portal because I do agree. And I think the nice thing about the portal that I do enjoy is that if you say whiff on some high school recruits, I think both BYU basketball and BYU football to their core in a perfect world want to get high-level high school recruits, retain them, and develop them for the pros. That's the perfect world. That's the perfect scenario. And then they go off to the pros and they're representing BYU. That's what everyone wants. But if there's situations, whether it's football or men's basketball, where, say, this heralded freshman class doesn't pan out, you can quickly replace that with the portal. In years past, when you would whiff on a high school class, it would be devastating to a program. 3 or 4 years, you'd be set back because then you're trying to recuperate it and bounce back. Now, with everything being year to year, okay, maybe 1 year you have a dip year, but who's to say BYU basketball doesn't bounce back and get to the Sweet 16 next year? There's nothing holding them back from bouncing back quickly. That's the nice thing about the portal. But I did sense that a lot with Richie when he went down, and also the outpouring of support for Richie after his injury, where I think a lot of Cougar Nation, that hit them hard because it's like, will we see another Richie Saunders again? Go 4 straight years of playing for BYU, and that's going to be something that I think Cougar fans want to see more of. Let's take a quick break. We'll get back to more BYU basketball talk and this portal talk. Keep your text coming, 57500.
The National Weather Service in Salt Lake City has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for central Weber County in northern Utah, east central Box Elder County in northern Utah, Davis County in northern Utah, until 1:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 1:07 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from 6 miles west of Kareem to near Marriott-Slaterville to 13 miles north of Stansbury Park, moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. Hazard, 60 miles per hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Ogden, Layton, Farmington, Brigham City, Tremonton, Hill Air Force Base, Roy, Clearfield, Kaysville, Syracuse, Clinton, North Ogden, South Ogden, Washington Terrace, Riverdale, Hooper, South Weber, Perry, Willard, and Marriott-Slaterville. This includes the following highways: Interstate 15 between mile markers 325 and 378. Interstate 84 between mile markers 82 and 90. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Large hail and damaging winds and continuous cloud-to-ground lightning is occurring with these storms. Move indoors immediately. Lightning is one of nature's leading killers. Remember, if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Torrential rainfall is occurring with these storms and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 1:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight.
Imagine a world where you can leave the house and take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you. Thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just a fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's soccer practice streaming the other game in 4K. Just like that. In the airport, download a cozy family comedy in a snap with Wi-Fi Power Boost. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity. Imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit xfinitymobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience, More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes, fees, extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Xfinity. Imagine that.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait. And don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hey folks, Jay Broadbent here from Alpine Home Medical. I've been helping folks breathe easier for 29 years now. Trust me, at my age, I know a thing or two about needing a good night's sleep. Is your CPAP mask old and nasty? Are your masks, filters, or tubing from the pre-COVID era? Or just plain tired of the hassle of ordering supplies yourself? Switch to our resupply program. We handle everything. Automatic shipment straight to your door. Insurance billing and expert support. It's quick, easy, and keeps your sleep therapy on track. Doesn't matter where you got your machine from, anyone can join. Head to alpinehomemedical.com, click on the Easy Resupply button. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
How was your break?
It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So, even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code THRIVE25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code THRIVE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill up. That's THRIVE25.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Fitting that we got a Drake bumper coming in on a day where BYU lands a Kentucky Wildcat. Colin Chandler
Great poll.
transfers into BYU. Remember that picture of Drake in the team meeting room at Kentucky with
Wearing
John
the team
Calipari?
sweats.
Yeah. So it's a good pull having that Drake bump coming in here on Cougar Sports Saturday. Here on the legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you today. We've been talking a lot of transfer portal and BYU basketball. The portal is something that is difficult for fans. I wanted to continue that conversation, Nate, because it is something that creates mixed emotions. I think for my dad, like based off him, because I feel like a little bit disconnected in terms of, not disconnected, I should say, I just look at it from a standpoint of this is what it is. Almost like this is my line of work. This is how rosters are built. This is how it's done. And you talk to coaches, you talk to players. This is what they do. This is part of the deal now. So I'm kind of like, this is the standard operating procedure. But I think for fans, it's difficult to kind of handle because, again, what I was saying earlier, I think the Richie Saunders injury almost felt like an end of an era in a way because they wonder now, are they ever going to see another 4-year player at BYU again?
Yeah, and it's tough. It's a good question, and I think the hard thing about that question is we don't really know. Like, we don't know if BYU is going to be having a 4-year guy. Is Brooks Barr going to be coming back from his mission and playing this year, and then is he going to still be on the team in 4 years? I have no idea. Bruce Branch, he's probably going to be a 1-year guy.
Yeah.
Dean Ruckert, maybe. Is he going to be around 4 years?
I hope. The hope, I think, has got to be at this point where their last collegiate year is at BYU. So whatever professional ranks they're in or whether they're playing overseas or they got their degree, you hope it's at BYU. And I think that's like the only hope at this point because ultimately Yegor Dioman, he's always going to be a BYU guy. He only played 1 year, but he reps the Y. He loves the Cougs. I think AJ's going to be the same. With as long as Kevin Young is there, absolutely, you're going to see AJ around, but I think he's really grown to love BYU. And maybe it's just kind of represents the era that we're in where enjoy that 1 year. But I think there is something fun about college sports of the old model where, you get a nice core together and then you say, man, okay, they only got to the first round this year, but wait till next year. Wait, this thing after 2 more years, this could maybe be a Final Four team one day. But everything's a year-by-year deal. And I will say, too, I think Kevin Young, he probably gets at times frustrated. I don't want to speak put words in his mouth, but I just the sense that I've gotten the past couple of years in the way that he's built rosters and his feedback on the experiences he's had, it can probably be very frustrating this portal season in terms of there's just no transparency. There's none. When NBA agents are saying, hey, this guy's getting this, he's getting offered this from this franchise, you can vet that. College basketball, you really can't because no one's going to out anyone and no one's going to really tip their hand on what they're actually offering a player. So then
and then you add in the fact that BYU's got this this name where suddenly they're throwing out millions of dollars to every player.
Yeah, people want to make it seem like BYU just is a reckless, endless pockets of cash that they're just going to throw at anyone. That's just not the case. Again, the BYU's got a budget just like anyone else. They want to live within that budget, but of course BYU got a lot more resources than I think many people believe they were capable of having invested into the basketball program, and they want to win at a high level. I mean, Kevin Young isn't here if BYU's not on a path to try to go win something big. And he's going to put together the best possible rosters he can. And I think that's what always gives me confidence, too, with Kevin Young. Even though this year was a little bit of a learning year, building around a generational-type player, and A.J. DeBonta was a fascinating experiment, I think that he's learned a lot of valuable lessons. And I think that I trust completely he's always going to have an ability to get quality talent. Now, how can they all come together and maximize their potential? That's still to be seen. Because I think, unfortunately, this past year, outside of AJ, outside of Rob, you could question how many guys actually got better. And I think that's where BYU came up short compared to what high expectations they had going into the year.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point to make because when I think about players on the team, I can't think of any guys who looked much better than they did in the first part of the season.
Like Richie was awesome, but you could argue he was better in the Sweet 16 season.
Yeah, and even the team as a whole, like from the get-go, the game 2 or 3, whatever it was against UConn, and BYU's got this huge first-half deficit, and they kind of charged their way back in the second half. That seemed to be a story of pretty much the entire year, where they would wind up with this big deficit in the first half and make their way back. But
yeah, it's gonna be fascinating to see how BYU puts this together. Let's move to football next. Coming up on the other side, it's Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Something about me. I don't like to settle. I work hard to be my best self, and I want a vehicle that matches. So I'm shopping for a Cadillac because their innovation and craftsmanship are top of the line. With a whole line of electric SUVs packed with state-of-the-art technology, I know I'll be driving away in redefined luxury. Help all of us at Jerry Seiner Cadillac celebrate our new location with an incredible buying experience for your dream car. Come in today to experience the Seiner difference.
It's 1:32 at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top story this hour: The Department of Homeland Security only purchased part of the land the ICE warehouse in Salt Lake City sits on. KSL TV's Garna Mejia has more.
The Department of Homeland Security's new ICE facility, an 800,000-plus square foot commercial warehouse meant to detain thousands of people, sits right in the middle of two parcels spanning more than 46 acres. But county records show DHS only purchased one of the parcels. The other one remains under the previous owner, connected to Deutsche Bank.
With half of the property exempt for property taxes, taxes will go up for some taxpayers in the county. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. With last night's successful splashdown of the Artemis II crew, what's next for NASA's moon projects?
The Artemis 3 mission in 2027 will test docking with commercial landers and test new spacesuits. Artemis 4, scheduled for 2028, is to be the first crewed lunar landing since 1972.
ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez reporting. Coming up, thunderstorms. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1:33.
Doug Wright here with Monty at Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. Monty, give it to me straight. Why is Connecticut the premium choice over those standard electric softeners?
Doug, it comes down to this. Do you want an appliance you have to babysit? Standard water softeners have microprocessors and computers that need setting and adjustment. And they use a lot more salt. So you get to haul 40-pound bags of salt down to your basement every month or so.
And Connecticut?
Zero electricity, zero timers to reset, zero downtime, and uses 70% less salt. It's a higher standard of engineering that completely removes the hassle of owning a water softener.
That's what I love about my Connecticut. Dee and I never have to even think about it. We occasionally add a bag of salt and it just works, and I've never had to set or adjust anything. Do what I did and get the one that just works. Find out how soft your water could be at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Traffic is actually looking pretty good on the major highways. No major issues to report. Thirsty for better water? Culligan has you covered. From softeners and filtration to bottle-free coolers and bottled water delivery. Trusted local experts make water taste amazing. Visit CulliganSLC.com. There's a severe thunderstorm warning from Cove down to Layton and northwestern Salt Lake, with winds going up to 60 miles per hour and quarter-sized hail. There's also a flash flood warning in Emery and Wayne counties until a little before 4 this afternoon. If you're outdoors, try to get inside if you can. Right now, it's 66 degrees and there are showers in the vicinity. I'm Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. BYU football wrapped up spring practices last week. We didn't have the chance to put a bow officially on spring ball because General Conference took place last week, so we got the Saturday off. Mitch Harper here and Nate Slack here in Salt Lake City. Let's talk some BYU football. And there was a great comment. You pulled this, Nate. Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire talking about BYU.
Yeah, the two of my favorite to play, and we don't get to play one of them this year that are new rivalries. BYU love playing that. We're 2-1 against them. I don't know if either one of you've got the opportunity to play at BYU, but it is elite. Like, it is an elite
check it out.
place. It is loud. Their student section is sober, and they are freaking going nuts. Like, and Kalani's one of my favorite dudes. Like, I love Kalani.
Yeah, I like the commentary because it's a lot of respect towards BYU and Kalani Sitake, and it's from Joey McGuire, who is of course the head coach of Texas Tech, and right now Texas Tech is the head of the conference, right? And I think it's like that for going into this next season. They're probably going to be the favorite to make it back to Arlington and probably win the Big 12 championship, at least in the preseason polls. But I think it's interesting commentary. Do you view BYU and Texas Tech as kind of new rivals in the Big 12?
I think it's trending that way. I think, when you play 2 games in a season, you're going to have a little bit of animosity. You're going to have a little bit of hate for that team. And I think BYU fans desperately want to get a chance to play Texas Tech again. And that sound was on, Bustin' with the Boys podcast. Joey McGuire was on with, Will Compton and Tyler Lewin, I believe.
Yeah.
It was cool commentary. I think Joey McGuire and Kalani Sitake have a lot of mutual respect for one another. I do think that the Texas Tech matchup could emerge as a rivalry potentially in the Big 12. I think what it's going to require, though, is that BYU and Texas Tech continue to play games with high stakes. If there's high stakes involved, this could emerge into something that you could call a rivalry. If there's not stakes involved, then it doesn't get that status to me, because I think that's what makes, great rivalries. BYU and Utah, it doesn't matter the records. There's high stakes because of the dynamics in the state, the connections, the divide basically within this state of blue versus red. Who gets bragging rights? That's high stakes. BYU, Texas Tech, even though in my kid's school in Murray, there is a family that is some Texas Tech Red Raiders. Wreck 'em. I'm not interacting with many Red Raider fans in my everyday life. And I think the same can be said for Cougar fans that live here in Utah. So the stakes aren't naturally built in to that piece. But if we're talking Big 12 championship back-to-back year, and say Texas Tech wins it again or BYU gets the upper hand, then you're going back and forth. Yeah, this could be a rivalry, I think. I think it could be trending that way.
I think so, too. And what gives me pause on that is BYU's also got to be competitive. In the games last year, BYU wasn't very competitive. They don't have to win the game per se, because even going back to BYU's losing streak against Utah, and I hate bringing it up, but I'm going to, BYU lost 9 games to Utah, but the games were competitive. They came down to the final plays. It came down to the final quarter and crucial moments of the final minutes of the games. BYU was never in a position last year with Texas Tech to win those games. It felt like the scores were pretty close at halftime, but either the offense couldn't get the ball moving against Texas Tech. And after that first touchdown drive in the Big 12 championship, one of BYU's best drives of the entire season, things just kind of went south after Bears rolled his ankle and got injured. So I think that's got to be something where BYU is able to make these games competitive. What I hate, Mitch, is how BYU and Texas Tech don't play this year, because they played in 2023, they didn't play in 2024. They played in 25. They don't play in 26. It's kind of like the Arizona State, where BYU and Arizona State had this great game in 2024, and then they didn't play in 2025. And I wish that the Big 12 would be able to make some changes to the schedule. I understand they have the schedule matrix, but if they see where BYU and Texas Tech are the two top teams in the Big 12 conference going into a season, they should make some kind of change where they say, okay, BYU, you're not going to play Arizona this year. You're going to be playing Texas Tech instead.
Yeah, I love that idea. And because it is a shame with the Arizona State side of things, which I also believe could develop into a rivalry. Heck, it might be there because I think Arizona State fans really get fired up to play BYU, and I think BYU fans get fired up to play Arizona State because there's a lot of Cougar fans down in Arizona. There's a lot of Cougar fans in Texas too, but it feels like there's a little bit more crossover between BYU and Arizona State in terms of the fan bases. But the fact that BYU didn't get a crack at Levitt again, that's kind of frustrating. He goes off to LSU now. They get a chance to play Arizona State in Provo this year, which is great. Get a chance at revenge then, but Jay Hill's not with BYU. Sam Levitt's not at ASU. Lots changed, too. I mean, if you watch probably that video, let's say the highlights of that game from the Arizona State BYU game in 2024, I'm just running through my head on the spot here. That final play of the game. Jake Retzloff throws the pass. He's gone. Chase Roberts caught the pass, came up short, gets stormed over. The field gets stormed. He's on the ground. He's gone. I mean, all those players pretty much in that spot. Darius Laster, he's gone. Like, college football changes so much. So I think you make a good point. Hopefully the Big 12 creates a situation where after this schedule matrix is over, and that ends in 2027, that they create a situation where there's 3 permanent matchups every year. For me, it would be BYU, probably Arizona State, and then maybe I want to say it would be nice to say Texas Tech, but then you're also like, you also want to win because that's 3 Bear games, Utah, Arizona State, and Texas Tech. But you want to talk about marquee events every single year. I mean, that would be some 3 showcase games because I think those programs and BYU are going to be some of the consistent, top-end programs in the Big 12 on an annual basis. And we always know BYU and Utah always lives up to it, even if, one of the teams is not great that season. It's always a fantastic game. So that's what I kind of hope to see the Big 12 do after the schedule matrix is over. Kind of take a page from the Big 12, or not the Big 12, the SEC, where the SEC created 3 permanent rivals every single year and then rotate the other matches. Because let's be honest, do we need back-to-back years of Cincinnati? BYU plays Cincinnati to close out the regular season. I don't think we do. Like, Cincinnati's solid, but I don't think there's any feeling to Cincinnati. Maybe it'll change this year after what happened in Nippert last year. We don't need to get into that, but I don't need that game every year. I want to see Tech. I want to see Arizona State. I want to see BYU and Utah. You give me that every year. All the other 6 games in the league, you can rotate them, and I'm okay with that.
I just wish that football operated with the same scheduling tactics that basketball has, because you talked about revenge games. BYU is going to be playing Coastal Carolina in 10 years. And it's like, who cares at that point? The game's over. It's
Dax
done.
Mills probably going to have 3 kids. He just got engaged recently. I think maybe he's married now. I don't know. But he's going to have 3 kids probably by then.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Meanwhile, basketball, they announced, or Rocco Miller reported that it sounds like BYU and Ohio State are going to be opening up in the Delta Center.
Love it.
To start out this next basketball season. Why can't football do that? Why do they have to schedule games so far in advance when basketball has so many more games to schedule? It seems like it'd be easier to schedule 12 games as opposed to 30 in basketball.
It's a great point because, especially, too, when you consider, do we really know what's going to be these conferences in 4 years from now? When these media rights are done 5 years from now in 2031, Big 12's is up then, do we really know what the landscape's going to look like? Why are you scheduling games out 7, 8, 10 years in advance? Didn't COVID teach us, hey, we could put together a game in 72 hours. Now, you don't want to go to those extremes, but you can have a quick turnaround. I think, to your point, I think the cutoff should be December. Okay, December, you get the schedules all put together. Okay, you get, like let's say if you're building out 2026, you work from like September to December 2025, or that whole 2025 calendar year, you're piecing together the 2026 slate. Big 12, you've already got Big 9 built-in games, but those 3 non-conference games, how awesome would it be to say BYU and Vanderbilt, 2 programs that were awesome last year, knocking on the door of the playoff. Hey, let's put together a home and home, or let's put together a one-off game, whether it's neutral site or whatever. But the problem is all these schools want to have their own their benefits. They want on their terms. That's why it's so mind-blowing that we kind of got it a little bit this year with BYU and Notre Dame. The 2 teams that got left out of the playoff, we are getting that. That was kind of a short-term deal, quick turnaround on the heels of 2 successful seasons a year ago. We are getting that this season, but honestly, it's shocking that BYU got that game in Provo to start out, because typically Notre Dame, it's like you got to bend the knee to the Irish to get any sort of opportunity to play them. It's got to be on their terms. So it can be done. Quick turnarounds can happen on scheduling. I would love to see more of that in college football.
Yeah, and the Notre Dame game is a perfect example, because there's been times, too, where BYU's knocked because their non-conference schedule isn't very good, and it happens to teams all across the country, but you can't tell what team is going to be good in 2029. Like, BYU could schedule a game. Let's say Utah, for example. Utah has a game against Miami next year. Miami was awesome this year. They made it to the national championship. Who's to say they're going to be good this year or next year? And so by the time that Utah has a chance to play them, they're no longer the team that was a national title contender. They could be a 7-5 team.
We got to get to a point in college football where, honestly, it needs to be, it's a radical thought, but I really think this is the direction it needs to go. It needs to be like 75 teams. You're all, like, maybe you're putting it out in divisions. Maybe you still keep the conference bit. I don't know. But then you have your built-in conference opponents, whatever it looks like, 8 or 9 games. And then the rest of the non-conference games are rotated on like a 10-year basis within that power conference or that power structure of the sport, 75 teams. And you rotate, and you're going to, at some point, BYU is going to play Ohio State. At some point, BYU is going to play Florida. You rotate through that, because then you're getting all those commitment to people wanting to still spend their money on season tickets. That's why I thought it was so critical that BYU got the Notre Dame game, because at some point the novelty of playing Big 12 teams in Provo will wear off. I think that's been a fun aspect to the home schedules since joining the Big 12, is every year you've got a new team to roll into Provo that you've maybe never seen before. But at some point that honeymoon wears off, and you want to see those big-time, non-conference games that BYU used to always be known for. I love that Brian Santiago and Kalani Sitake said, we're going to go out and get Notre Dame on this schedule. Yeah, please, kick that Cal game to the curb. Sayonara. We're getting the Irish to roll into Provo. I love that matchup, and I love that it's a home and home. But, scheduling is very tricky, and because everyone, again, wants their cake and eat it too, and that makes it tricky in the landscape. And then again, no one really knows what the future of the sport is going to look like. That's why it would be great if we just got to at least, 2 years, within a 2-year window where you're seeing these matchups lined up with football. But I do believe BYU and Texas Tech is becoming one of the great matchups in the Big 12 Conference, and maybe we'll see a renewal of that game coming up in Arlington again this December. Let's take a break. On the other side, we'll get to Cougar Tales, a roundup of all the news and notes around BYU sports here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
My friend Joey means well.
Always remember that the early bird gathers no moss.
But he gets a little confused.
You can't make a silk purse out of a wooden nickel.
Like Joey, many of us can be confused when it comes time to plan for retirement. When to take Social Security, how to use that 401k, what about the stock market, taxes, and Medicare? Todd Kim at Galileo Wealth Management can help to simplify retirement planning. His goal is to have you walk into retirement with confidence, not worry, and to address the number one concern among retirees today, the fear of running out of money. Call Galileo Wealth today for a no-cost, no-obligation meeting to talk about the details of your retirement. 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online, GalileoWealth.com. And remember,
one man's trash is thicker than water. course, water's not thick at all. It's watery.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Does your home have peeling paint or faded colors? Don't procrastinate. You need to protect your home with quality paint and a worry-free process, so make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. You quickly get a free estimate that's detailed, easy to understand, and then their trusted local professionals will bring fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
At Cadillac, we believe true luxury isn't just about craftsmanship. It's about innovation. That's why we created a luxury line of electric SUVs, including the best-selling Lyriq, the all-new Optic, and the Escalade IQ, the first fully electric full-sized SUV. You can travel over 400 miles on a single charge. So come get your dream car and see exactly why driving a Cadillac is like no other driving experience. Visit Jerry Seiner Cadillac and experience the Seiner difference today.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse. In today's busy world, your home should be your sanctuary, a peaceful retreat where you can unwind, breathe deeply, and recharge. And what better way to create that haven than with flowers? A pop of color in your flower beds, a cheerful container garden by the front door, or a lush patio filled with vibrant blooms can transform any space into a personal oasis. Flowers don't just brighten up your home, they lift your spirits too. Research even shows that surrounding yourself with plants can reduce stress and boost happiness. At Olson's Greenhouse, we grow premium quality plants that make it easy to bring beauty and joy into your life. Whether you prefer bold, eye-catching colors or soft, soothing pastels, we have the perfect flowers to complement your space. And with locally grown plants, you know they're ready to thrive. This spring, create a sanctuary of color and comfort with flowers from Olson's Greenhouse. Find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens or go to OGG.com to find a retailer near you. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Another basketball commitment, not for BYU. A former BYU basketball player. He made his commitment out of the portal. Dominic Diomande, he has landed at an ACC school. Where did he land, Nate?
He is at Pitt, Mitch.
Wow.
It's a good fit for him. I'm happy for him. It's one of those deals where I think people – now, I'm not saying this is the case with him, but – I think people, when they hear transfer, they suddenly start asking questions of why would he ever leave BYU? Now, again, I don't think this is the situation with him per se, but sometimes there's just it's a mutual decision between the schools where you can have an exit conversation with a coach. For example, in 2020, I was interning with the BYU Sports Network and Greg Wrubell, and I had I was making a stop in Coach Pope's office, and I walk in, and he is having an exit interview with Alex Barcelo. And so I walk in, and I'm like, am I supposed to be here? And he's having his exit interview. His girlfriend is in the office with him and Pope. And
Zoe?
Yes. They were in the office just chatting it up, and then Coach Pope was like, hey, come take a seat. I don't know if I'm supposed to be in here. And so I know those conversations happen after every season with every player, and sometimes coaches can tell a player, hey, you were good this year, but I think going forward we're going to be going a different direction. It may be in your best interest to look elsewhere.
Or it's a situation where, hey, we love you. We want you to stay. This is the role we see for you this year. For the player, they might say, I'm capable of more. And then there might not be the alignment piece where, 7 or 8 years ago, if you had 6 transfers after a year, like BYU's got right now, you would say, oh my gosh, what's wrong with the head coach? What's wrong with the program?
And I think some people are asking that. And it's like, this is the new normal. Yeah. This is going to be a usual thing every year.
Go look at the Big 12 right now. BYU's just middle of the pack. Yes, there's teams like Arizona who have 0 transfer portal players, but a large part that is due to seniors and their guys that are going to leave are going to the NBA. So they're not going to really have portal guys. And a guy like Krivas, he's going to be the key cog now. But so sometimes it's just simply the alignment of the player and the agent. Maybe they don't agree with what the coach is putting out there. And the coach is like, you know what? This agent's saying this. They want this. Hey, we can't do that. We got a budget just like anyone else. So it's just not going to work. Like, we want you here, but it's just not going to work. But Diomande, I'll be curious to watch his basketball career. One thing that's interesting, though, we were talking off the air, he's going to go into his redshirt sophomore year, third school in 3 years. And does he become 5 school in 5 years guy? Like, I hope it works for him. I hope it Pitt becomes the spot for him. They've still got Jeff Capel, former North Carolina Tar Heel, as their head coach at Pitt. They once had Anthony Falesi, Utah prep guy, committed to Pitt. He just recently decommitted. But I just think that's where, too, things get forgotten sometimes. Like, hopefully these guys just graduate, too. Because sometimes your credits don't always carry over from one school to the next. And 3 schools in 3 years, just stop. But Dominique Diomande, he lands at Pitt in the ACC. He's going to be playing for the Pitt Panthers going forward. Let's take a break. Hour number 3 coming up next.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Direct in-person talks between the U.S., Iran, and Pakistan at a site in Pakistan continue. One big obstacle to try to overcome or work around is this, according to Steve Hill, ABC News contributor and former UK security official.
If both sides go in expecting the other side to cave 100%, we're not going to see progress. And that's across enrichment, across the Straits of Hormuz, and of course things like the US withdrawal from the Gulf are clearly not at all realistic. The key challenge, however, is a complete lack of trust on both sides.
2 American naval destroyers have gone through the Strait of Hormuz. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the ships are clearing mines laid by Iran. Iran demanding a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militants. Strongest words yet from Pope Leo today about the Mideast wars. In Italian, during a service at St. Peter's Basilica. Without naming the U.S., Israel, Iran, or its leaders, Pope Leo denounced what he called the delusion of omnipotence. Leo saying enough of the idolatry of self and money. California Congressman and Democratic candidate for governor Eric Swalwell denying allegations of sexual assault as reported in the San Francisco Chronicle. ABC's Karen Travers.
He is losing support very quickly from high-profile Democrats who are pulling back their endorsements of his campaign for governor and also urging him to get out of the race. We've heard from Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, and the other top two Democrats in the House who say this should be thoroughly investigated. That statement says there should be a swift investigation into these incidents and that Swalwell should immediately end his campaign for governor.
CNN reporting 4 women have now accused Swalwell. Trailing in the polls, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. With the election tomorrow, you're listening to ABC News.
Not valid in all states or were prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, our credit card bill came and it's higher than last month.
How? We haven't charged anything.
Paying the minimum isn't enough. It will keep getting higher until we take control. We need to go to 47fastcash.com.
With our bad credit?
47fastcash.com can help any credit type get approved for up to $5,000 in minutes.
Take control and get the money you need at 47fastcash.com. 47fastcash.com.
I've been telling you all about the Secret War on our cash and the free report you can receive a copy of by contacting Swiss America at 800-289-2646. I'd also like to encourage you to subscribe to their podcast on YouTube. Just search Swiss America Trading. The podcast can provide you a ton of vital information and financial news in the challenging and uncertain times we're in. Subscribe today. Learn more about BRICS, industry leaders, and their market predictions for the future, along with what you might expect to see in terms of precious metal performance in the weeks and months ahead. Message and data rates may apply.
Good afternoon. It's 2:03 at KSL News Radio. I'm Isabella Sosa. KSL's top local story this hour. There's a severe thunderstorm warning for the northern Wasatch Front. Areas affected include central Cache County and Box Elder County with winds up to 60 miles per hour and quarter-sized hail. The National Weather Service says to stay inside. There's also a flash flood warning in Emery and Wayne counties until just a little before 4 this afternoon. The White House Faith Office senior advisor visited the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints headquarters in Salt Lake City. According to the church newsroom, Paula White-Cain visited yesterday and met with multi-faith leaders and toured the church's welfare and self-reliance facilities. White-Cain also had lunch with Elder Sherald Cassé of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and was presented with her family history. Coming up, thunderstorms. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 2:04.
Teaching the Constitution isn't as simple as it used to be.
We're much more cautious.
Some Utah teachers say even civics lessons can be misunderstood.
I'm more cognizant of what I say.
Not fear, but anxiety.
Yet they believe this moment matters more than ever.
If we don't give them the space to learn civil discourse, where are they going to learn it?
Peter Rosen shares why educators say the future of our democracy starts in the classroom. Utah celebrates America 250, Monday at 10 on KSL.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
It was opening night at Hale Center Theater for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Victor Hugo's classic tale. I was with my son Ian, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The staging, the costuming, the music, it's simply breathtaking. And of course, the actors and the voices. You have to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's on the main stage right now at Hale Center Theater. So many of the scenes are never to be forgotten. For example, when Frollo is just struggling with his passion for Esmeralda and his soul, the flames and the tension on the stage is unbelievable. And to see the Hunchback up in the tower with the bells, don't miss Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And continuing, Peter Pan Goes Wrong. That's on the Jewel Box stage and Hallmarked on the Beehive stage. Get your tickets now. hct.org. Don't miss the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU, love where you bank. Traffic isn't too bad right now, just be careful as it'll be stormy. There's a thunderstorm warning for Cache, Box Elder, Central Davis, and Tooele counties. Winds may reach up to 60 miles per hour, and there may be hail. Right now, it's mostly cloudy and 70 degrees. I'm Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio. 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Hour number 3 is off and running here on the program. Mitch Harper and Nate Slack with you. Cougar football. It's in the thick of the offseason now. We're countdown until September 5th when BYU takes on Utah Tech, the Trailblazers. All the action can be heard right here on KSL News Radio. And with spring ball in the rearview mirror, thought we could just kind of put a bow on spring and give our closing thoughts on the spring season. Maybe some players, some new faces that think are going to have an impact on this team. So you take it in whatever direction you want, Nate, but just kind of overarching thoughts from BYU's 15 spring practices over the last 5 or so weeks.
Yeah, so I'll take it back to before spring ball started, we had predictions about who would be some breakout players who make impacts this fall. I said Reggie Frischknecht at wide receiver. I thought he was going to be a pretty big piece to spring practices, and we were going to hear his name a lot. Didn't quite turn out that way. I think still he's going to wind up probably in that 2 deep in the wide receiver room just because of so much loss. But one player that really stood out to me this spring was Legend Glasgow at wide receiver. And he's a dude where he's from Lehigh High School. He's going to be a true freshman, the cousin of Isaiah Glasgow, linebacker. But I think the sky's the limit for him. And it's pretty noteworthy to be hearing a freshman's name as much as he was talked about, because even at the start of spring practices, Aaron Roderick was like, I'm not going to be talking about young guys because I don't want them to get poached. But with there being no post-spring portal window, it wasn't like it was a flight risk or anything like that. But Legend Glasgow, I think, is a guy who really stood out to me, and I'm really curious to see what strides he can make this fall or this summer even, because you have now 3 months or so, 3.5 months until fall camp starts. And how big can he get? How much faster can he get? What's his body going to look like in 3.5 months? Being in a college system and the college nutrition and everything like that. So ultimately, I'm really excited about that, because unlike basketball, where BYU has guys coming in like a Bruce Branch, where he's probably going to be a 1-year deal, you can't do that in football. And more likely is it for football players to be at the same school for multiple years as opposed to basketball. So long story short, Mitch, I'm really excited about Legend Glasgow just because of not only this year, because I think he's going to make a lot of big plays for BYU this season, but the future of the wide receiver position with Bear Bachmeier, who's only a sophomore, LJ Martin obviously being a senior this season and having his last year at BYU. I'm kind of looking at the future of BYU football, which is maybe a little premature because we're only in April and we're still ways away from the 2026 season. I'm kind of always looking ahead to who's going to be making those plays in 2027, 2028. I think Legend Glasgow is going to be right there.
Yeah, Glasgow was one of the big stories, I think, in spring practice. And when you do look at the wide receiver position, it's very young. Maybe, I don't want to say unproven, because there's guys that have shown glimpses in games, most notably JoJo Phillips, Cody Hagan. Casper played only a little bit at Oregon, but he's still kind of unproven too. But there's only one senior in this wide receiver unit. I mean, in theory, they could all run it back and for the years to come, and they could really build up something Again, that's kind of naive to think everyone just is back. But what's crazy is when you look at BYU this season, they didn't lose a starter from last year to the portal. So guys that were contributors, they either lost their eligibility, maybe had an off-the-field thing, or they stayed. So when you talk about building stuff up for the future and getting a young guy like a Legend Glasgow where he's making a lot of plays, with the way that BYU's been operating with retention in football, it's not silly to think maybe he got something special for, the next year or two. Again, he's got to start playing some games, and we'll see what happens in actual games. But I think he's going to be a piece that's going to be one that BYU factors in. If you were A-Rod and Fesi Sitake, who would be your starting wide receivers? Because that was such a big storyline coming into spring. You lose Chase Roberts. You lose Parker Kingston. Who are the starting receivers? And maybe to that as well, are you going to have maybe only two receivers playing because of the talent at tight end as well?
Yeah, it's a good question because Walker Lyons and Roger Saliopanga, A-Rod is mentioned a couple of times that those are two of the best players on the team. And so it might be an instance where you only have two receivers so that you can also have two tight ends on the field. Let's say in this instance, though, Mitch, that I'll pick three starting wide receivers. I would go JoJo Phillips because I think he's a guy who I think is a little bit slept on because last year he breaks his collarbone in game number 2 against Stanford and he was obviously out for a big chunk of the season and it sounds like it was a pretty gnarly injury. I think he's going to have a big bounce back year. I think he's a starter. I think Kyler Casper, the transfer from Oregon, is going to be a starter because he's really big, but he also was a pretty big impact player this spring, and he's a guy who didn't get a lot of run at Oregon, but he was also battling a lot of injuries. And so as long as he's able to stay healthy, which he has so far, knock on wood, I think I've got him in my starting lineup as well. The last one I would give to Cody Hagan, and Cody Hagan had quite a few plays last year, but they weren't really him running routes. It was more like jet sweeps and that sort of deal where like the tornado reverse that he was getting pitched to. But I think you've also got to reward his loyalty to the program because he's going into his junior season. He hasn't flirted with the portal despite having limited snaps. So I think this is a year where it's kind of a prove-it year for him, and I think you reward his loyalty to the program.
Yeah, I would go with the same three. I think those are the top three guys for BYU. And Hagan, too, Fesi Sitake and Aaron Roderick are so big on trust. Guys that have done it in games, and Hagan has played. The thing is with Hagan, it's been kind of underreported, but he's also dealt with injuries too. And even, in this spring, off and on. So if he can stay healthy, he will be a really good player for BYU. I think in that next group, and you're looking at Reggie Frischnecht, Tay Nakua, I would then say Legend Glasgow in that top six. And then, Tiger Bachmeier's kind of a wild card. I feel like there's a lot more to be had with him than what he showed last season. He was really good at Stanford. He was a good player. He was an impactful player. Maybe we're sleeping on him a little bit. I just think that, again, I lean so heavily in the tendencies of what we've seen from Fesi Sitake and A-Rod. They're going into year 9. We kind of know the way that they go about their business in the way they build out depth charts. A big thing is trust. And did Tiger Bachmeier do enough last year at any point of the season to earn trust? He honestly didn't get targeted much. So that's where I kind of default to maybe thinking maybe he's in the too deep, sure, but in terms of final snap counts and guys that are playing in the games, I could see maybe, again, a Legend Glasgow, Cody Hagan, maybe getting more snaps. I'd love to see it. You also have Jaron Pula, too, a freshman. It'd be in a perfect world you redshirt him, but I think you also want to give him a taste of some success and opportunity, work a way into getting into the rotation. But at the same time, Fesi, when he trusts guys at the top end, he won't rotate them much. And I'm okay with that. Like, hey, you got the big dogs, like guys that you trust week after week, you're going to roll with those dudes. They got to establish that. I think this is different this year compared to last season where you thought, okay, Chase Roberts is an absolute alpha. He's the wide receiver 1. After him was a little bit of a question. And then it emerged Parker Kingston was a stud for BYU last year. But they've got to, establish kind of that pecking order of guys that they can rely on every single week. I think another storyline on the defensive side, Kelly Papinga first-year defensive coordinator. Look, I look around this defense, and I don't want to get too hyperbole or things like that, but I'll tell you, Nate, I think the talent on this team, they're loaded. They got a lot of ability. I think this is a really balanced defense. I think they're going to be excellent. I think this has the potential to be the best defense Kalani Sitake has had in his time as head coach. I just think the one question is just simply, how will it look in games with a new defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I've got the same thoughts, Mitch. And that 2024 defense for BYU was awesome. And I think going into the 2025 season, fans had the expectation that they were going to exceed what they did in 2024, and that just wasn't the case. Now, they weren't a bad defense by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think they met the expectations that were set. And despite having a brand new defensive coordinator, it's not like they were pulling this defensive coordinator from a different school. So it's going to be a similar system. You still have Gary Anderson. You still have Kalani Sitake, who have their fingerprints all over this defense. I think it's going to look really similar. But just on a personnel note, I think this defense has potential to probably be the best one since 2012. I don't know if they can be better than that 2012 defense because, in my opinion, that 2012 defense is probably the best in BYU football history, just because of the guys that were there. I mean, they had every position. they were great, but this year's defense, it really does give you hope that BYU makes it back to Arlington because you're going to have the offense that was led by Bear Bachmeier and LJ Martin, and you're also going to have the defense that I think can limit teams to 24 points or less. And that was kind of a Bronco Mendenhall approach, and now that you have a Bronco Mendenhall descendant in Kelly Papinga, maybe that's the same approach too, is trying to keep teams under 24.
Well, and I think it's a good number to throw at because we know that BYU offensively wants to eat up the clock. I think they want to extend the field a little bit more, have more explosive plays. But to their core, they want to run the football and they want to eat up the clock and shrink the game as much as possible. If you got a defense that can consistently hold opponents to under 24 points, you're going to have a chance to win any football game with the way that BYU operates. Like BYU, I think that's one of the knocks on the Cougars the past 2 years to the national media. Despite all the wins they've piled up, they don't go about their business in a beautifully aesthetic way. It's just like, hey, they'll win a game against someone 24-17. And it's just, maybe they had a scoop and score along the way, but they'll win some games like that. Now, there's also games where they will hammer a team like TCU, and we will just not acknowledge how good of a win that was because in the moment, TCU was only 6-4, and then at season's end, you see the final poll and go, oh, TCU's in the top 25 rankings. That was a pretty good win. I digress. But the thing is that BYU has got some really good talent on the defense. I have some questions maybe a little bit at the depth at cornerback. I still also have some questions about the interior of the defensive line. I think there's talent. Again, when you see the development, the career arc of some of these guys, you go, man, they've got a lot bigger. The size of these players, you can see them, but until you see it actually in a game, there's still wait to see. I also think, too, to be a playoff team in the Big 12, like Texas Tech, that was an outstanding defense. That was an all-time defense. Now, I'm not expecting BYU to be that, but it sure wouldn't hurt the cause. And there were some absolute beasts on that defensive line. I'm not expecting that from BYU's D-line, but it's a high bar to get into that playoff because at some point you're going to face a team that's got talent like that on the defensive side, so you better be able to match that blow for blow if you do get into that 12-team field and have an elite defense that can make a game a rock fight if it needs to be that way. But I like the personnel that BYU has. I think the edge rushers, those outside linebacker edge rushers are going to be fascinating to watch. Hunter Clegg, Nusi Taumoi-Peau, Tausilia Kana. Then you got the traditional DN like a Bodie Schoonover, who's a veteran. Kini Fonohema is coming along. BYU's got some talent, and it's building up that depth, and I think this is going to be a really good defense this season under Kelly Papinga. Let's take a break. More Cougar football talk around the corner here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
Imagine all that could happen in 5 years. Jobs change, kids grow up, new memes come and go. But what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price didn't change for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need the most, that finds and fixes any issues before you even notice. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth for the next 5 years. All your devices will be working in perfect harmony with the equipment, with no annual contracts, no fees, and no strings. So even though your kid will grow up and you still won't understand 6, 7, the price for your sharp, reliable internet will stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots?
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. So, Monty, I wonder if you know someone like this. He's the ultimate DIY guy. Restores classic cars, builds his own deck, and even smokes his own brisket.
Sounds like a talented guy.
He is, but get this, his other weekend hobby is troubleshooting his water softener. He's always down there resetting the timer or fiddling with the circuit board.
See, Doug, that's where I draw the line. Smoking a brisket is a great weekend project.
Yeah.
Fixing an electric water softener is just a chore.
Exactly. He thinks he's saved money by buying the bargain brand, but he's paying for it with his Saturdays.
That's the Connecticut difference. Our systems are premium because they are non-electric and fully automated. No computers to fry, no timers to reset. We install it and you get back to the hobbies you actually enjoy.
If you want soft water, do what I did and leave that to Connecticut. It runs on water power, not willpower. Learn more at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
You may not think about Great Salt Lake, but it's affecting your life every day. It brings lake effect snow and epic powder days. It supports thousands of jobs that keep Utah thriving. It provides a haven for millions of birds. And it keeps our air cleaner and our summers cooler. It also could affect your home's value, your kids' asthma, your morning run, your powder days, your future. Without a healthy lake, we face toxic dust storms full of mercury and arsenic, along with higher health costs, fewer jobs, and lower home values. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's personal. The lake affects you. Now, it's your turn to affect the lake, because our lives depend on our lake. Act now at growgsl.org.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250. Say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Nate Slack here. If you miss any part of the show, subscribe to the podcast. Just search Cougar Sports Saturday wherever you get your podcast. It's also available on the KSL Sports app. So many different ways to listen to the show. Also check out Cougar Tracks as well. Daily show on KSL Sports YouTube. You can get all the daily fix of BYU sports on Cougar Tracks as well. Gonna have some sound coming up after this segment with Bear Bachmeier, BYU quarterback who wrapped up spring ball, and then you also hear from BYU defensive tackle Keanu Tanavasa as well. What are your expectations for Bear this season, though, Nate? After a season really unlike any other, his true freshman campaign where he goes off for more than 3,000 yards, leads BYU to 12 wins. I mean, he did it all. It was incredible. I still feel like there were some guardrails maybe in place with that offense to where they set him up for success. Now this can be unleashed a little bit more. Your thoughts on what Bear could achieve this season and what your expectations for him this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know he passed for 3,000 yards last year, but I expect him to be pushing like 3,500 this year. I say that because you kind of talked about it leading up through the year last year. BYU really eased him into throwing the ball. So, for example, BYU versus Portland State, week 1, he was 7 for 11 passing for 97 yards. Week 2 against Stanford, 17 of 27 passing for 175 yards. And then he didn't hit the 300-yard mark until the West Virginia game, first week of October. So
that's a good point.
BYU was they were really relying on the fact that they had LJ Martin, a veteran running back, to kind of help along a freshman quarterback who is still learning the system. Because we talked about during the break, Mitch, he didn't come to BYU until May. So he was there super late, obviously wasn't there for spring ball. He was still trying to learn the offense. He credits a lot of that to Matt Mitchell, who was kind of an assistant quarterback coach. Now he's at Colorado State, so BYU is going to see him this fall. But I think it's fair to expect Bear Bachmeier to have more passing yards. Even that 3,033 yards he had last year was good for number 35 in the country. So he was a top 40 passer. I also think the touchdown number is going to go higher. I don't think it's going to go a whole lot higher than 15 in the season because BYU has LJ Martin and because Bear is such a big running threat. Because look at the Arizona game. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. When you get in a position where he can either tuck the ball and truck a linebacker to get into the end zone, that's a safer route than throwing the ball maybe 5 yards into the end zone.
What I love about Bear, he takes care of the football. I really think that Bear has got the potential this year. The potential to be the best quarterback in the Big 12. I think he could be that. Now, Noah Fafita's back, and he was a first-team All-Big 12 guy, and Noah Fafita's very good. But I don't know. Is there another gear to Noah Fafita? I don't know.
At this point, I don't think so. Going into your senior season, you are who you are, I think.
And I think he's fantastic. But I think, Bear's got another gear to him, potentially. And I think that's going to be the challenge in front of BYU to unleash that this year. And Bear's got to deliver on that because there's high expectations for this BYU football team. Let's hear from Bear next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's spring. You get outside and it's obvious your house needs painting. Make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. They'll give you a free estimate quickly and at the right price. And they make the entire process easy with reliable updates and communication. They know how important your home is to you. True professionals, they're committed to quality and exceptional service at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renter's Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Spring is here, and that means pool time is here. No one makes it easier to have a pool in your backyard than Arctic Spas. We just need 2 days, and you can swim for exercise or enjoy family fun. Arctic Spa's all-weather pools continue to be fun all year round versus a regular pool which you can only use during the summer. We make it easy with maintenance-free filters, automatic natural salt water, and automatic pH control. No one wants to spend their time taking care of their pool. We just want to enjoy it. And that is what Water Care Automation is all about. If you're looking for a pool that is easy to install, easy to maintain, easy on the wallet, and you can use it year-round, look no further than Arctic Spa's all-weather pools. For more information, check us out at arcticspasutah.com or one of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Imagine a world where you can leave the house and take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you. Thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just a fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's soccer practice, streaming the other game in 4K. Just like that. In the airport, download a cozy family comedy in a snap with Wi-Fi Power Boost. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity. Imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit XfinityMobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience, More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes, fees, extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Xfinity. Imagine that.
We finally realized something.
We wanted more time for family, faith, and service.
And less time giving every Saturday to the house.
At Ovation Homes, active adults 55 plus can enjoy beautifully designed, low-maintenance homes in a welcoming community built for this season of life.
More peace, less upkeep.
And more time for what matters most.
Learn more about Ovation Homes' newest communities in West Point, Syracuse, and Layton with an open house event April 11th featuring experts, food, and more. Visit OvationHomes.com.
Let's be responsible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That counts.
Safe, secure, and built for comfort. With locations in Syracuse, West Point, and Layton. Downsize without compromise. With a home that truly fits your lifestyle. To learn more and see all the amenities, visit OvationHomesUtah.com. That's OvationHomesUtah.com. Your best years start at Ovation Homes.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
Touchdown! Stayed inside the boundary and gets in for 6.
Cougar Sports Saturday, a presentation of KSL Sports.
Ritchie right to the rim, driving score!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here's your host, Mitch Harper, on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
BYU football is into the thick of the offseason now with spring ball in the rearview mirror. No post-spring transfer portal for football to worry about, so the roster's pretty much set. They'll have a few new additions coming back from missions this spring and summer, and then also one freshman as well, Antonio Johnson, who will join the program in June. But outside of that, roster's pretty much set for the Cougars, and one of the leaders on the defensive side is Keanu Tanavasa, defensive tackle, who decided to run it back for one more season with the Cougars. And I caught up with Keanu to close out spring football and asked him what was accomplished during spring.
I think overall what was accomplished was leaders finding their way and players buying into the culture. And I think that's absolutely what needed to happen. We have a lot of talent, and there's a lot of talented teams across the country, but it's all about will the leaders step up and the individuals who need to be the ones to lead, and will the players that are new to buy in. So I think that's what happened, and it's been great.
K-pop has been big on player-led teams, he feels are the best ones. That was his experience as a player at BYU. Yourself, Isaiah here at the table, like who are some other defensive leaders for this group?
Evan Johnson has been phenomenal, holding down the corner group. Raider Damuni and Faletau have done awesome. As not maybe the most veteran players, but I mean Raiders in his final year, but as players who have come out of their comfort zone to step up and to recognize that it's time to take over. You have the reputation behind you, and now it's time to step up. Guys like Bodie Schoonover, that even though they may have been hurt, but taking their role on, at least for their position group. So aside from those guys you mentioned, I mean, I think those guys have done a great job stepping out of the comfort zone.
I'm glad you bring up Bodie. He's someone I think people on the outside often forget, but he was pretty impactful. I think back to those 2 sacks against Iowa State. What does Bodie provide to this defensive line that maybe people on the outside don't talk about enough?
Well, first and foremost, when I think of Bodie, I think of a lot of happiness and joy. He's a super upbeat guy, and he adds a lot of love and character to the room. So I think we value that first and foremost above all else. And then second is he is a playmaker. He's someone that has a motor that's deliberate, and he's extremely strong. So when we talk about that, what does he add to our defensive line? I mean, I think he just adds a whole lot of deliberate technique and relentless passion towards that ball. That he models it. So when I'm tired, it gives me a reflection of what I want to do.
Who are some of the other guys in the interior of the defensive line with you? I would assume Kirkland's going to be there, Purcell, just maybe some of the other players that are going to be in the interior of this defensive line this year.
Yeah, aside from me and Justin Kirkland, I mean, Justin has done a great job of owning his role as really a 2-eye, as really a nose tackle, similar to what Coach Bullha was, right? Just that big knockback plug disruptor in the middle. We also, again, like you mentioned, Anisi's phenomenal and can do it all. I mean, take double teams, but also have a knack for pass rushing. We have young guys like Ulavai and Kelepi Finau that are just relentless in their pursuit of learning, which is beautiful because they don't have a lot of miles on their body and not a lot of reps, but they have a whole lot of deliberate intention, and that supersedes the reps that they haven't had. So, I mean, it looks bright for the future, not just this year, but also going forward.
And I'm curious for you with your future. I remember when we spoke, before you transferred into BYU, you thought maybe it'd be 1 year and then go off to the NFL. What was ultimately the biggest factor in running it back one more season at BYU?
I think recognizing that coming here was everything that I wanted it to be, but I needed a lot of education on how I wanted to perform and the style of difference that I needed to adapt to, right? The defense was different, and so figuring out myself within that took a little bit of time, to where I'm at the point in spring ball that I feel like my feet are completely under me. Like I feel more trustworthy with my team. And then I got feedback from the NFL on, maybe I was playing a lot more 0 when I should have been playing a little bit more 3 technique and 4-eye. And so now being able to do that, I mean, I feel like myself again.
Well, and to follow up on that, how nice is it? And I know Jay Hill was great. He's going to be tough to replace, but he was wired for the back end of the defense. Kelly Paping, it's all about the front. Like the foundation is in the front 7. How nice is that? Where it's just the guy that's leading this defense, and then you got Gary Anderson, you got Sione Buha. Like all these guys are wired to just the foundations in the defensive front.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, they haven't changed too much, right? But they've given maybe a little bit more freedom, which has been phenomenal. Especially for myself, I value myself as kind of a more high IQ player. I don't just play D-line because I can be brutal and ruthless to the ball, but I play it because I have a lot of understanding of what it takes to be a defensive tackle. And so when I want to take my shots, they give me the go to be able to do that. So having them put that trust in me and being able to perform at that high level has just been liberating for this spring and exciting for this fall.
How exciting was it last year for the team? And I know you guys had a couple games after this moment, but just when Kalani locked in for the extension to still be here, maybe just describe that time where there was maybe that uncertainty. Was he going to Penn State or staying?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to someone about that. That was a tough time, especially the timing of it, right before the Big 12 championship. As much as we try to bulletproof our minds and try to be indestructible forces there and laser focused, we're natural human. We're natural. We have a natural man, and so as mortal individuals, we have to think about our future. So not just for our coach, if we can see that behind the scenes of what he's feeling, and we can feel that because we've been connected and love him, that's what we start to feel and think, and so it overrides kind of the feelings of we need to focus on this game. So it's extremely tough, but now with the confidence of where he's at, of the confidence that he's here and he's bought into us and there's nowhere he's going this year, it's now how can we support him and fulfill our role to the best of our ability.
Has Kalani, the experience playing for Kalani, been everything you hoped for?
Everything and more. It's superseded what I thought it was going to be, and it's transformed me into a better individual, a better husband, and a better father, when God's plan comes along.
Last thing for you, Keanu, your final year of college football, just how are you approaching this season? Is it a different mindset with it being officially the last, or is it just how you've always approached every season?
That's a great question. A lot of guys feel that sense of urgency when it's your last year and there's nothing left. They become very meticulous in the way that they attack the practice, the way that they attack the lifts. I've been blessed. The Lord has taught me that since I was a young kid. And ever since I attacked my freshman year at the University of Utah, I was meticulous in my details and my film study and my technique. And I spent countless hours adapting it and making it mine, finding my own talents and making it something that I could perform, with my second nature. So I'm just attacking it the best that I can. I think now what I have is a little bit more understanding that it's in God's hands. Let me do the best that I can. Let me not worry about the opinions of other people, and let me let God govern what happens next.
That's BYU nose tackle Keanu Tanavasa here on Cougar Sports Saturday. He's gearing up for his senior season, and safe to say he is going to be one of the anchors of this BYU defense in 2026. Let's take our final time out. On the other side, we'll reset, get some sound bites, too, from Bear Bachmeier, who closed out spring, and a lot of excitement about BYU's QB1 this season. We'll touch on Colin Chandler committing to BYU basketball as well. It's Cougar Sports Saturday. It's powered by KSL Sports.
Dear Linex, 8 years ago when I bought one of your spray-on truck bed liners, I started my construction business, then landscaping, then there were the camping trips. But even after all that, my Linex spray-on bed liner still looks great. Thing is, I'd really like to get rid of that old truck. Isn't there any way to destroy this thing?
Actually, no. Linex spray-on bed liners are guaranteed for the life of your truck. Linex, serious protection, killer looks, guaranteed.
Linex of Midville is now open for business at 7000 South State. Linex and Jordan Camper have teamed up to offer you the very best in protective coatings and truck accessories. We specialize in truck tops and tonneau covers from ARE, a wide range of products from floor mats to step bars. Just what you need to make your truck look and perform its best. Jordan Camper at 7000 South State features multiple installation bays with trained technicians ready to install. Follow us on jordancamper.com and Facebook.
Taxes was waiting on the refund you needed yesterday.
All right, your car repair is going to run about $3,000.
Now Taxes is getting back on the road with TurboTax and Credit Karma, where you can get your refund up to 5 days faster and get personalized guidance to take every dollar further. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Deposit a federal refund into Credit Karma Money account and early submission of refund data by IRS required. Terms apply. Banking services provided by MVB Bank, Inc. Member FDIC. Credit Karma is not a bank.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller. The program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250. Say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Final segment of the program today. It's been a great show here on Cougar Sports Saturday. If you missed the big story of the day, BYU basketball lands a commitment out of the transfer portal from Colin Chandler. It's the first commitment to BYU in the 2026 portal cycle. Chandler spent the past 2 seasons with the Kentucky Wildcats, was a knockdown three-point shooter for Kentucky, but there's a lot more to his game for the 6'5", 205-pound combo guard out of Farmington High School. And he announced on Instagram, "I'm coming home." So Chandler is going to be a huge building block for BYU basketball next season. Pretty cool to see the comments, too, on his Instagram post. Yegor Dioman, BYU basketball star, now with the Brooklyn Nets. He chimed in, congratulated Colin Chandler. Saw Nate Pickens, BYU guard, who's still part of the program as well. So Chandler will be an important piece for this BYU basketball team. BYU basketball, of course, long way between now and the start of the season, which will open on November 2nd. BYU football will kick things off on September 5th against Utah Tech. And the man that's going to be throwing the rock is Bear Bachmeier, heading into his sophomore season, leading the BYU program. And this was Bear recapping spring practices the past month.
I think we just got so much talent, and spring ball was just a great process for us, and just refining kind of everything, and obviously getting the new guys gelling. But we got a lot of talented guys, and if we can gel together, we're going to be dangerous.
They do have the ability to be dangerous. I think last year's offense, I wouldn't put in any conversation of one of the great offenses in BYU history. I think that's not even a conversation to be had, to be quite honest, yet it was one of the best teams in BYU history because they were so efficient. They were opportunistic. They pounced on opportunities when in front of them, and they capitalized. And they were able to eat up the clock and be a physical ground attack. When you're in the Big 12 and you have a ground attack that is highly productive, one of the best rushing attacks in the league, you're going to be one of the best teams in the league. Simple as that. Utah was the number one rushing offense in the conference last year. They won 11 games. If you can run the football at a high level in this league, you're going to be able to win football games. But you also got to be able to throw the rock around. And Bear Bachmeier, I think, showed you that he has that ability. Threw for over 3,000 yards last season. I think there's still some questions with Bear about his arm strength at times. Aaron Roderick has said that there's another level to Bear's throwing arm and his ability to get down the field. But to Bear's point, there's a lot of talent around him. And I think that's the thing that can be exciting about this offense. The tight ends, I think, will mask some of the questions at the wide receiver position this year for BYU. Walker Lyons, Roger Saliapaga, they are going to be impact players. Lyons is more of the traditional tight end, can be a great blocker, excellent receiver, very sound. He's kind of more in that mold of Carson Ryan, but I think more athletic. Roger Saliapaga is kind of like a wide receiver, honestly. He's a really good athlete out there. And I'll admit, I was kind of curious to see what he could honestly provide. And look, we still got to see the games. That's going to come up in the fall. But the early returns from Roger Saliapaga were pretty impressive. And you have to realize, too, they're going up against a defense in BYU that has got a lot of talented personnel. And I think that's one of the exciting things about even these practices. When you go 1 versus 1s, and if you win that day, you should be pretty proud of that because you're going up against, I think, one of the better defenses in the Big 12. I think this offense can be one of the better ones in the Big 12 as well. And I think what's going to be key for this offense in 2026 is Bear Bachmeier has to take a leap. And this was Bear on what's changed for him over the past month in spring practice.
Fully immersing myself in the scheme and fully understanding that. And I think obviously from a leadership role, just really honing in on that. And I feel like I was a good leader last year, but just really honing in on that and stepping into that bigger role now.
I like the commentary of being fully immersed in the playbook. Roderick has touched on this, saying that Bear now has 2, even 3 plays that they can throw at him in a given call, in a given down. That wasn't happening last year. Go back to that early part of the season. We just talked about it moments ago. It felt like there were some guardrails in place. BYU has always had trust in Bear's knowledge of the playbook. They would not have given him the QB1 nod if he didn't have a strong understanding of this playbook. That's why BYU had success last year, because Bear had a good understanding. There were times, as he's noted, that he maybe didn't fully know how to execute a certain play, but he understood the concepts, the basic foundation of this offensive playbook. Now, though, he's getting into the depth. And as he said, fully immersing himself in that playbook. And that just creates more opportunities, a lot more flexibility, a lot more optionality within a given play call for Aaron Roderick. And if you're an offensive coordinator like A-Rod, heading into his 9th season on the BYU staff, he's got to love the fact that he's got a quarterback that has a lot of confidence in his knowledge of this scheme. That's a prerequisite if you want to be an excellent BYU quarterback and lead one of the great, a really good BYU offense. I don't know if this team is going to be ever video game-like numbers offensively. I don't know if they're going to ever be that. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State, they brought in the head coach from North Texas and basically his entire team from North Texas. I bring them up because they were the number 1 offense in the country last year. I don't know if they're ever going to be like that. I don't know if BYU's built that way to do that, but they're going to be highly efficient. And when you pair up efficiency with then confidence in the scheme, the ability to check out of plays, audible, Bear's got full autonomy and control over this offense, and there's alignment between him and Aaron Roderick as well. It's crazy to think all of this has happened for Bear Bachmeier. The guy just committed to BYU less than a year ago. He committed to BYU in early May. You go back to May 3rd. That's still less than a month or less than a year ago. It'll be 12 months coming up next month that Bear officially committed to BYU. He arrived on campus around Memorial Day, early June. He got settled in. So it's been a whirlwind year for Bear Bachmeier, and this was Bear reflecting on the past year and all the twists and turns of this past season as BYU's QB1.
It's been a wild ride, and I think everything happens for a reason. And so I'm so happy and so glad to be here at BYU and represent such a great university. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's been a good roller coaster, and I'm just so happy and just so proud to be here.
I think Cougar Nation's pretty happy that Bear's here too, because without Bear Bachmeier, I mean, what does last season become? So getting him was such a huge addition out of that portal post-spring window. And that's one of the things that's a side tangent that kind of makes me pause a little bit is I do miss that post-spring window because you could fill some gaps on your roster. Not necessarily pressing needs, but just gaps. Like, okay, you don't feel good about your wide receiver 5. You can go fill that gap in the portal. You don't have that luxury this year with the way that the calendar has been constructed with only one transfer portal window. Imagine if this year's calendar applied to last season. Bear Bachmeier wouldn't be a thing. It's kind of crazy to think about, honestly. But Bear has really immersed himself as a BYU guy. And what's interesting about Bear, too, it doesn't seem like the spotlight has changed him. He's still kind of this down-to-earth, humble guy that you feel like you maybe knew in your neighborhood growing up. He hasn't really changed. It's just Bear being Bear. And he's got the weight of a BYU program on his shoulders. And it's a lot, but at the same time, he's got talent around him. This BYU team's got high expectations, and he's got to carry them. He has to. If Bear takes a big jump, BYU's going to have a chance to be in the playoff conversation again and maybe break that door down and actually get into the playoff. But Bear's got to be brilliant again, and even better than what he was last year. He has to be. Because I don't think the schedule is... Last year's schedule was difficult. I think this one's even more difficult considering you've got Notre Dame at it. You've got a tough early game against Arizona. There's some difficult games, whereas last year's schedule, if you remember, it was kind of a leveling up every single game. And it's weird how that worked out, but it worked out brilliantly. This year, you're jumping into the deep end pretty quick against Arizona, who was a 9-win team last season. You've got Notre Dame. You've got Arizona State. You've got Utah on the road. It's a tough schedule. TCU on the road. It's going to be a tough schedule, but Bear Bachmeier, I think, is built to lead this BYU team. It'll be fascinating to see how he performs in his sophomore campaign. That's going to do it for this edition of Cougar Sports Saturday. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure, again, to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. I'll be back with you on Monday on the KSL Sports YouTube on Cougar Tracks, every single day on Cougar Tracks. Then, of course, next week, myself and Nate Slack will have you covered here on Cougar Sports Saturday on the legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio. Have a great weekend, everybody.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. It's past 1 a.m. in Pakistan, where Iran State TV says in-person direct talks between the U.S., Iran, and Pakistan at a site in Pakistan continue. Michael Ratney, former U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia.
It's hard to imagine going back to a situation, or I should say declaring success or victory, if we have a situation where the Strait of Hormuz is still in effective control of the Iranians.
Iran says there can be no agreement unless there's a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah militants. The U.S. is trying to separate those issues. In Beirut, ABC's Marcus Moore.
While the Israeli strikes have slowed, those strikes are ongoing, particularly in the south. In fact, a strike just yesterday in Kfar Joz. Now, Israel says that it has been targeting Hezbollah. But residents and also emergency services here say that they have been targeting residential areas. And I can tell you that there is immense sadness and anger here.
2 American naval destroyers have gone through the Strait of Hormuz, says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, saying the ships are clearing mines laid by Iran. Iran denies the ships are there. The strongest words yet from Pope Leo today about the Mideast wars. In Italian, during a service at St. Peter's Basilica, without naming any nation's leaders, Pope Leo denounced what he called the delusion of omnipotence. Leo saying, enough of the idolatry of self and money, and enough of war. California Congressman, Democratic candidate for governor Eric Swalwell denying accusations of sexual assault, as reported in the San Francisco Chronicle. More Democrats and labor unions who endorsed him are pulling that support and